welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. Whoa, and greetings, blessings, salutations, and love once again. Welcome back to Reflections with Jack. I am Jack Talcott, and there we go. Starting off a little bit clumsy. That's just like Jack. Pretty rough around the edges. Sometimes I stumble. But you know what? We can have fun together. And brothers and sisters, sincerely, man. Kind of blows my mind, but yep, here I am. I'm doing this again. And I started early. I started a little bit early again. So sincere blessings and gratitude to all of you who may be finding your way here as you join, whether it's the now or the later, because truly, this is true. There is always a perfection to the day. And I'm feeling pretty excited that you, whoever you are, that you're going to share your day with me at whatever time it is. And if you're tuning in not live, I really do encourage speed it up, right? Save yourself some time because I do talk slow. But the Spirit has brought me patience, and the patience has brought me greater understandings than I used to hold. So may we all unite today to find simplicity and love together. That's truly what I hope to share. And, you know, dropped in the beginning there, love is the answer. That's in the background, right? Pretty clear. Love is the way. And this thumbnail, man, it's funny. I asked my partner that we do this quote, right? 1 John 4:8. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. And then this image was brought up. Love and God, this, transmuted, transformed together like a cross. I used to hang on my fridge. My son made that in daycare. And it was on the fridge when I left home, but it was a reminder to me that I didn't understand love, man. And I didn't understand a lot of things in my past because my fears and my doubts kept me confused, and my confusion prevented me from discovering what was going on. Right? So here's something I've learned. Life isn't always complex. Sometimes it's just our stories that complicate things. The idea today, the concept, accepting simplicity from life. There was a train of thought that brought me to this. And if you follow along, I got a whole bunch of thoughts here, and today I actually spent time doing some preparation. So I actually have some visuals and some slides, and we'll see how it unfolds, but I'm prepared to drop the link to. We'll see what the universe brings forth. I mean, it's Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Sunday chats. I didn't catch church today. I didn't even tune in to the online one I used to do. Excuse me. But I found there's like a church right next door. I haven't caught them with activity there, but they're called and the phone number's not available. But God is perfect, right? The God of life and time and everything that we get to know, there's a perfection to things, man. And so the simplicity from life comes from knowing. When you know, then you just kind of flow. You don't have to worry about things. But getting to the point of knowing can be scary. But here's what I was thinking. it was in reflection of a lot of the past conversations and the patterns of behavior that I'm experiencing and I've been, right? The ego inside us, the identity, the past trauma, it wants to be right. It's a defensive mechanism. And it makes sense when it's appropriate, but when it's not appropriate, it's destructive. So I see a lot of people in this world convincing themselves and others that they're right when actually they're not accurate. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, those are a couple of examples, and they're recently in my head because I was just on Facebook communicating with an old buddy of mine from the military. Praise God. Well, if you tuned in, I'm going to drop the link soon and hopefully you can join. But see, there's a perfection to all things that I've been learning to watch for. Earlier today in my own path, I spent some time. I saw a wonderful presentation earlier online of Hegel and Marx and some of the views and some of the ideas of how those ideas grew. And what I took from there, some inspiration from this, as I understand, Hegel was really credited with the idea of dialectical thinking. Golly geez, Machine Lies would be an excellent resource if he's around. Hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I don't know who's here, who's not, who might be, but I'll just go ahead. We'll drop the link and we'll play it by ear. I do have a lot of thoughts I want to share today. So this Sunday afternoon, if you're with me, I hope you just kind of settle in and chill out and see what comes forth. Because seriously, love, God and love, those two are, right? And so how do you know that God and love are? Through what is true. Because what is true reveals all. And that's what God does. That's what love does. The three are inseparable together. But admittedly, because of my past story, my opinions on religion, the stories I told myself, it kept me separated from the religious. The narratives divide people, and dividing people from people, that prevents answers from being shared. Brothers and sisters, there's a simplicity from life. If you catch yourself, you watch yourself, and you pay attention to you, self-awareness is the key. Because if you want to succeed in any avenue of your life, you got to look at self-mastery. You got to take charge of you. You're responsible for your success in any outcome you choose. So we live in a world that's filled with gossip and blame and lies, and the stories have all the people at war with each other. They imagine shit to fight about. I've been experiencing. Go back and look at some of my past streams. You'll see. People imagine reasons to argue. It's hilarious, but not funny. But praise God. It always comes back to God. Love. Love is the answer for all things. So back to where I was. I was going and considering this practice of dialectical thinking. And I forgot to actually bring a slide up on that. Did I get rid of that? I thought I had the idea. Anyway, my interpretation, my application, what I'm pointing at with this concept, dialectical thinking, is bringing in like opposing or abstract ideas, bringing those ideas together for the purposes of reconciling, right? I don't have a clear example coming to mind right now, but I'm sure there's many available. Anyway, the idea is I was looking into some of the past history, looking to grow my mind upon some of the intellectuals of the past. And so here, reconciliation through dialectics. The idea of thesis plus antithesis creates the synthesis. Truth is often not in the extremes, but in the tension between them. The narrow path of truth. That's where it's found. It's found between and not ignoring, not refusing, but including opposing ideas. Okay, so we can resolve our own inner doubt by growing in practice, right? We practice these ideas of growing our own mind development. Maturity in a man or a woman is, in part, it's the capacity to hold different ideas together, to have space in your mind and your being for a disagreeable idea to be present so that you can evaluate and compare honestly. So these are things I've been practicing, and it does come back to the middle way, which is what the Buddha's taught, but it all comes back to the way of faith and love, honesty, self-mastery, the way of Christ, the way of Jesus. That's where it comes back to me. Because, here, what does that say? Switch these up. There. Oh, James 1:5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God. And if you know God as love, then you're going to ask, what does love say in this situation? And if you're not sure what love would say, then go to the facts. What do the facts say? What do the truth say? Because through those things, then we get to God. Through love and the truth, we get to God. We've got our first guest. I'm only at slide 1. I got 5 of them. Let me pause and let me put this away for just a moment and welcome back our friend, Illumitama.
I'm not your friend. I'm just fulfilling my presidential obligations. Have you made any progress with the Facebook of Dominic?
I don't know how to.
You could ask trusted friends to also assess this Facebook.
None have made themselves available.
That's me.
All right. Well, if you're willing.
You know, as the man I cried before when I questioned if that half whore was dead in the back of a fucking trunk, that I spent my lockdowns having fun counter-scamming scammers, and you act like I ain't shit for you to come to. Question number 2, have you made any progress with going to nearby DC to end wars before Father's Day? Now, Jack, you know how I know you're broke? Because you scolded Cage for outing OTW's address and doxing him, but since it was a big almost $3, you couldn't dare take it down, could ya? Yeah, you brokey ass. You do not come to God through truth. I've looped a million times. There are true things written that are not scripture. No man cometh to the Father except through Jesus. And that's not just basic love. That's not just basic truth. And I apparently didn't see in LARP church this morning because I made a prayer against you, and it will take effect. It's not all about love. I prayed for you through Psalm 35 to be humiliated. And for your snare you set for me, for you to fall in. Just like Paul Enslaved, just like Taylor Briggs. That's how you love your enemy. You don't let your enemy destroy you. You destroy your enemy, but you love them in the destruction. And if there's anything left in you to salvage as you share comments and disrespect the love I'm giving you, faggot nigger, I'll be back tomorrow for the same basic ass questions you'll have no fucking progress in. You're garbage. Wait. And there's a demon in you.
Can we discuss?
Go ahead. Well, I'd like to, but you're going to backstage me as soon as I hit you with more truth. This isn't a place for conversations, brother.
It is a place for conversation.
No, it's not. You've shown that through your behavior.
Can we try to prove that wrong? Can we try to prove today different? I'm willing.
There is
and
no
I know
try.
we can.
There's only do.
Right.
You keep speaking this anti-biblical, self-saving nonsense. Crack that neck, Kundalini cunt. I've got you dead to rights. And here's what I want to warn you about, Jack, because I covered this in LARP Church today. When this demon that's in you realizes that you failed and you no longer are of any use to him against me, he's going to trash you for his own pleasure. He'll throw away your bliss. He'll throw away your stretches and your knee massages. And he'll take equal pleasure in your demise and then move on to the next one. Because Satan is only here to battle God's people. That's why your life seems so smooth and so good. And why God's people like me are out here among the least of these. Not informing the YouTube what the left hand does. And the thing that makes you worse than Paul Unslaved is you've been told and you're still leaning into it. I am your Panelverse president. You're a bitch.
Holy shit. Wait, I've got just the perfect thing. Where'd it go? I couldn't even say a fucking word there, could I? It seems I've been through that before, huh? Holy cows, man. Tom. Holy cows. Praise be, that was our friend. That was and is our friend, Station 33. I can't even remember where he started. He stacked so many things onto me and where he was going, and it was like, wow, man, overwhelming. So here, maybe he forgot something. Tommy?
Yeah, I forgot I told you I'd hear you out, but everything works to the benefit of the Most High. Do you think you're cute clipping your own bullshit, Jack? Shut the fuck up, nigger. This ain't I'm not trying to play a fucking game.
Wait. Hold on.
Nigger.
Just because you have a mouth doesn't mean you have to fucking use it.
Right, and the thing you said...
When you shut up, you'll understand.
Jack, you are like Chuck Norris trying to make Chuck Norris jokes. You are a fool. You are a joke out here, and now you're... Stop. Hey, show me some respect. I'm not making... There ain't no punchline to that, faggot nigger.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's a joke. This is how you're a joke, Jack. Now, when you said I stacked on and piled on all these things, that's all of us when you put us in the backstage and try and prostrate yourself as superior. You are out here failing, and once again, I warn you, you're being carried by a force. And when it deems this is no longer lucrative to its efforts, you're going to be rock fucking bottom, dude.
I trust I'm being used, and I'm just perfectly
you
where
are.
God.
You're being used like a bitch of the underworld.
I'm perfectly where God wants me to be.
No, you're not. I just showed how all your little hippie sum up love of the Bible. You need to watch Minimal LARP Church before you keep this charade going on. I called your ass out along with Taylor Briggs, many other of these.
Tommy,
I don't even know what the low lifes anymore.
So what? You're not.
What do you mean? So what? This is what we're out. What were you battling Paul and Slave for? What do you come over and do your own subscribers only chat for? So what? What are you dismissing it all as nothingness? Because then we don't have to end wars. If you're saying so what?
Take a break.
If you're saying so what to what I'm here working with you on, you don't need to end wars. You don't need your son back. You don't need 2.5 families back. You're fake. You're shallow. You're not standing on anything.
Let's join here and now And let's invite
That's what I
God to
came
be
back
with us.
for, faggot. Quit looping.
Let's invite God to be with us here and now.
He never leaves me, nor
Nor me.
forsakes me. And I've
Right.
been the demonstration as you and your daddy and your faggot boyfriend Taylor Briggs have exploited me, disparaged me. What do you think I can't pull this shit up on Chev? I'll pull this shit into solar-powered Chev right now and drop bombs on you.
Let's pause, please.
This was the pause. Are you ready for round 2?
Let's pause. Look outside. It's gorgeous where you are. I can see the blue sky.
I am outside. I feel great. I am battling you. And there's been sunny green fields of grass that have spilled blood on them because this is war and you're on the wrong side.
I bet we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
You stupid fucking nigger. I just told you those things that aren't flesh and blood.
Tommy, let me continue because actually this might be a good point. Good segue. So let me also point out what I hope is coming through. I was patient. I thank you for your patience as we entertain some bitterness and some distractions, some opposition, I guess. I feel I am being patient and trying to communicate, but here, that was an example of one who has a thesis, not willing to accept a disagreeable view, one that wants to continually argue and dismiss what's offered. And that's a symptom of our world today, brothers and sisters. The world is completely confused. So some of the ideas, if you get down to it, even regarding to the religious questions and spirituality, it comes down to idealism versus materialism. Where idealism sees form, materialism, oops, that's my phone. Materialism seeks function. And the question, what if the divine transcends both? What if the goal is beyond the idealism versus the materialism and the materialism, right? And when I'm talking idealism, the ideas, the concepts, when you get into materialism, you're more focused on the form and the rigidness of the things. So these two appear to be opposing ideas, but I think the goal is beyond both. In Colossians 3:2, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. And in this idea where idealism sees form, it's focusing on the essence, the meaning, the ideals, the archetypes, right? The concepts. It's the greater picture behind that which we see. And the materialism seeks function. It's all about practicality, mechanism, utility. If you recognize that, that's the world we live in. We live in a world that's all about practicality, mechanism, utility. That's why we live in a commercial world where everything is bought and sold, including your freedom. Hey, whoops, praise God, sincerely, Arpol, and thank you so much, man, for the support that I have received from you and many others. Tom is living like Mad Max, but somehow I am the problem. Well, what if I'm being associated with goodness? And Tommy doesn't understand goodness because he's of the world. It's supported by scriptural ideas, but let's divert off of individuals back to the ideas, right? Seeking to unite and reconcile the concept and the form, uniting the form and the function, things above, not on earthly things. And then here, You know, this is an example, right? My attempts. Doggone it, where'd that go? I think that one. My attempts doing things on my own. Couldn't even get AI to cooperate with me. I couldn't understand. It didn't understand me. It kept going off in its own direction, doing crazy shit. And I'm like, what the hell, man? So yes, I did have help today, but then I recognize, okay, it's intelligence. Maybe it's just Jack. Maybe Jack has a problem communicating with intelligence. Maybe it's not just the people, maybe it's the computer too. But then I was remembered, it was programmed by people, and it really was me. I was the AI. I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring it out. So let's get back to this real quick. And if people want to join you, like I said, you're welcome. So the idea of money as a tool for alienation. The narratives of the world have divided people. And one of the greatest narratives is money. Money is a tool for alienation. I've said it before that money has been a tool for slavery. People wouldn't be treated like slaves if it wasn't for profits and debts. And that's just the banking concepts, right? So in the past and today, money has been used as a tool for alienation. And if you think about it, what we trade for survival may become what distances us from each other. The use of the money, the reliance on the money system, I recognized this a long time ago. The dependence upon the money system, the tool, which has been monopolized by the Federal Reserve and the international money scheme conglomerate. Money has been used as a distraction, as a carrot, right? A carrot on a stick, keep the humans like mules and keep them confused, and they won't really know what's going on. You give them something to be angry about or something to be afraid of, and then they'll start relying on external powers. This whole fiction of government and economics, it's all pretend, guys. Life is a dream. What you dream becomes your destiny. So dream of freedom with me. Sincerely, dream of a new world, the world we know, the beautiful world we live in. Know it's here, but it's different. Because that everyone may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God, the gift of life, and to know that we're performing functions in our lives, duties and services in the community. That's what a job is really for. But we've got a corrupted world where, whoops, did I get to that slide yet? Oh, no, I haven't got there yet. But we were born into a corrupted world where mankind has chosen hell over heaven. And it's so crazy. So one of the things I'm exploring in myself is just these ideas, concepts of labor theory and theory of value. How do we define value? It is true, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. And for those who find themselves with limited education, with maybe poor examples of adults in their life, when people develop without the true support and resources that a human being needs in order to thrive, people sell themselves short. And yeah, they go take pride in hard work, but they don't realize that the work they're exchanging is not for the dream of their family, it's for survival of their family, because we live in a world that extorts your labor If you don't have capital, the only thing you have to sell is your human labor, right? And so we live in a backwards world. It's time for us, I recommend, it's time for each of us to take a look at our life. What are we doing individually, in the community, in our organizations, in the greater world? What are we doing? How do we fit in? And what is valuable? What do you place value on? Tell you what, regardless of what it used to be, I encourage you sincerely, place a high value on your relationship with God. Okay? Place a high value on your relationship with truth. Only you can create yourself into being a reliable person, one of integrity, one of character. And it truly matters what you say, think, and do. It truly matters. I've learned this by mistake and trial and error. So that's why I do these live streams. I really do have some lessons from life that I hope will be helpful. So let's see, what was the next one? The consequences of lies and secrets, right? In this world where their narratives have divided people, the stories that wealth and authority have power, and these regulations and rules that are created by others, they set precedent and limitation. And even if you don't know the rules, if you violate the rules and someone wants to punish you, well, golly geez, you're punished through ignorance and stupidity. People aren't to blame. They're partially to blame. They're responsible. How about that? Mankind and people, we are responsible, but I don't believe we should be blaming each other. Because the truth is, we were all born into a world of lies and secrets. And it's only through ignorance and stupidity that mankind has enabled selfishness to rule on earth. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are examples of my words right here. Through ignorance and stupidity, the American voters enabled selfishness to rule their nation. Hell, and if you look honestly, the people dealing directly with poverty, hell is the result here and now. And it's all because people choose to lie to one another. It's all because people choose to believe in lies. Hell isn't this place of fire that, the churches, some people might imagine. It's truly a separation from truth. It's a separation from love. It's a separation from other. Look back in your own memory. When you were confused, when you were misled, when you were distant from love and support, wasn't that hell? Maybe you're facing that today. Go to God, right? And I do suggest the consequences of lies and secrets that have been built into the government and economic and corporate systems. It's so obvious. It's so obvious, the corruption and the problem. Secrets and lies, man. Secrets and lies drive people insane. So those who accept secrets, those who accept lies, guess what? They start living in these fantasies and delusions. But brothers and sisters, it's up to each of us. We are all individually responsible for awakening from our stupidity, our ignorance. We're all responsible for each other. Because see, what I've said this before too. Praise God. I say that a lot. It's been through sins, the absence of God, stepping away from God's will, the God's will that's written on our heart. the true nature of being that was offered forth and given to us in the example of Christ. By now, I think most people know who I'm talking about, what I'm pointing at when I say Jesus or Christ. The example of perfection, love, divine love in human form. That is the prototype for what we are to become. He was the leader. That's what it was said. And he said he was the first to become, right? We're to follow that way. So the perfection of Jesus, it's through God's grace. That's for sure. All things are through God's grace. I'm convinced. Oh, that, especially anything good. So if I'm making sense to you and these ideas sound good to you, it's not me. It's all God, God's grace. For it's by God's grace the goodness is available. It's by God's grace the goodness is shared. Each day brings up individual opportunities for us to do and think and say whatever we want. But we've got a world of people pretending like there's no consequences. I got to deal with some of those today in personal texts and last night. See, that's right. Now my memory is coming back. Tommy was here and we didn't discuss. Well, he talked. I didn't really get to say much of anything. But last night, Illumitami hosted this stream of people, and I tuned in for a moment, but I'm blocked from the chat. And someone actually sent me the link to go. Like I should be excited to go or something. And anyway, I tuned in, saw the gossip against me, the bitterness, the false narratives. I was like, my heart was kind of sad. It's like, why don't these people understand me? What is their problem? Why are they so convinced to go against me? Why do they have such little regard for the truth? It makes no sense to me. Then I realize, it's obvious. We're all different. We're all made in the way we're supposed to be for the moment. But here's another part of this idea of dialectical thinking, finding the opposites, finding not in the extremes, but in the balance in between them, right? Like warm is the balance between cold and hot, I guess. But warm's not always the truth. It must be accurate as well. Where was I going? I was bringing it back to the idea of bringing in multiple concepts together, and then I walked up, and then I got away. Jack, Margot said that you have a plan to initiate world peace, but wouldn't tell her. She's not telling the truth. I've tried telling her many times. She refuses to accept, consider. Yeah, she refuses to accept or consider any of my explanations. She's in denial. So I realized, according to Margot, she said, I have a plan to initiate world peace, but I wouldn't tell her. Yet you want to end secrets. And why not share your ideas rather than hoard them? See, and hard R, I realize you're like you're playing a troll, an imposter, whatever, someone having fun. But you're a part of my experience. And you know what I know about my experience is God has tested me. What is true? What is not? Who is being accurate and honest, and who is spreading confusion and lies? And there's a lot of people around here who've chosen to believe in the lies, right? Supporting the liars. It's what the egos do. I've been trying to explain these concepts, and seriously, the panels demonstrate my words, dude. We live in a society of enablers. People develop these habits and patterns of disagreement, and then they become disagreeable people. Their patterns and personalities are just disagreeable. They're bitter and angry and constantly in battle, all enslaved. I tuned into him for a moment and I thought about joining, but I didn't. Last times wasn't pleasant. But I do hope, hey, for any who have a way, or I don't know, he may still be streaming, he may not, he may be here. I'd love for Paul to join again. Like I said, I did think about joining, but he was having fun with his Brian O'Shea puppet monkey friend. His friend, Brian O'Shea. He was having fun with that. And I didn't want to interfere. Mind madness isn't contagious. Ability to simplify thought deserves rational thinking. Possibly. I suggest that everything that is can grow. Fear grows and spreads very quickly. It's like lies spread very quickly. They grow very quickly too, especially amongst the confused. And we live in a world filled with confusion. It's profited some. Brothers and sisters, we are the solution to this world. God created us. Oh, I wanted to give the full part of the John 4:8. I don't know if that comes through for you or not. Hopefully. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Wait, this is the wrong one. That's not the one I was thinking of. Whoops. This one, the John 44 quote, that's the one I wanted to bring back to, the full one. You are of your, he's speaking to the Pharisees, right? As I understand, Jesus speaking to the Pharisees, he's been with those who have been learning, but getting accused and kind of attacked. His response is, you are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and has nothing to do with the truth, because there is no truth in him, the father of liars. When he lies, he speaks his own language. He speaks according to his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And those who believe in lies, who share lies, who are they serving? Not what is true. Yes, too much overthinking doesn't help. Have faith. That is the key. The practice for yourself, I encourage you, it's up to you. You've got to resolve the conflicts in you. You've got to overcome your anxiousness, your bitterness, your confusion. It's all up to you. I mean, each of us has learned from what we were taught. I have a theory, we choose what we've learned. We choose what we learn from the opportunities and informations that's available. Ultimately, intuition does guide your decision. Learning to trust in that, though. Learning to understand your inner feelings. It's a great question, Philip. Is it possible to oversimplify? Everything has context for the meaning. So I believe, yes, it's especially easy to underestimate. It's especially easy to assume. That's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's really easy to learn a little bit and then assume you got it all figured out. But then as you start getting into the detail and the minutia and the subtleties, you realize it may be more complicated than that. In the regard of internal transformation, I actually trust there is a divine simplicity. It has to do with mind, right? Prayer, faith, and timing. Timing is, that's a mystery, man. God's timing is glorious. It's been perfect in my life. Somehow, some way, the right things, the right people cross my paths at the right time. So I trust it is possible to simplify. To simplify the transformation. It's all outlined in the scripture. Praise God. Frank, much love to you. Much love to you. And I think I pinned the link. I hope I did. Where was that? Yeah. So, accepting simplicity from life. This is something that I have been paying attention to in myself. And brothers and sisters here, we're all in this life together. And I realize I've taken a lot of gambles. I've taken a lot of risks. And so far in the material world, it hasn't really paid off, so to say, right? But I do feel aligned with the truth of who I've been, the truth of who I am, and the directions that I want to go. I feel in alignment with the present and my heart. Oh, my heart of love, the concept, the idea of my heart. Oh my God, it's grown. It was broken at times in the past. I felt broken, felt lost. This is something I thought about earlier today. The truth is, I am lost, right? I don't know how to get any of my goals achieved. I don't know what exactly to do. I don't know precisely which direction, or where is the best place for me to focus my energy and time. I'm not real sure yet, but I'm in a new place. I don't know my ways around. I don't know my direction, but I am not lost. I am here and now. And hey, here and now, a much more pleasant guest that I want to welcome back, our friend Philip. Philip YT is his channel, please.
Hey, Talcott, how you doing today?
I'm feeling blessed, brother. I really am.
I see that, and thank you for sharing your love with us.
Since you're here, any objection to me adding you as a mod so that you can easily share your channel link?
Yeah, you know
Okay.
I don't abuse the wrench if I had one.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually did a show today trying to share the love of another channel, another content creator, a positive content creator that kind of stays out of politics and just shows his hobby and his love for his hobby and his family, and that's Outdoor Boys. So I guess he's retiring from YouTube. So.
Oh, wow. Well, wonderful. Please. You're welcome and invited. You're welcome to share the your channel or things that you believe the community would resonate with.
Yeah,
And
thank you for sharing your community with me. I really appreciate your topic today, your title of simplicity, and just breaking things down to make things easier to understand is an awesome concept.
I realized my complication was often the result of my doubts, my insecurities. I'd find the answer, but then I'd still spend time second guessing myself. So this is something I realized as a leader. right? As a leader in any organization, in any capacity, even as a human being, which we are leaders, we lead ourselves to hell or heaven. Holy cows. Well, the idea of a leader is one who may not know the answers, right? They're willing to make choices and move forward. That's the key. But we know that commonly one of the larger, more common fears that people hold is the idea of public speaking. Well, that fear is hiding the fear of judgment. People are afraid of being wrong. That's why they're not leading. People who are placed into these positions of authority or leadership, they got to learn how to make decisions. But I allege many of the people in America, they've learned how to obey. The CEOs obey the shareholders and the investors and the bankers, and they all work together with the governments. And then the human factor, man. We've literally commodified collectively. Again, I don't think anyone's to blame. It's just signs of a broken system. We have commercialized and commodified everything. In the materialist mindset, which is actually in the materialist mindset, we treat ourselves and each other like things. And things, things are temporary. Things can be thrown away, they can be replaced, but people aren't things. We are concepts, really.
Yeah, I was never a big fan when someone said, I only see the utility in somebody. Utility means you're a thing, you're a tool. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I totally agree that I have seen people on the panels use that word like, oh, they only have certain utility for me. If they don't have utility, then they're not really anything. That's really sad, and that's not showing any love, right?
No, this is the world we live in, though. It's so common. I don't think people realize what they're doing. I know I never did. This is part of an observation. Life really is such a gift to live as a human being, particularly in the world we are, because we're here and now. We've got the comfort and the ability to do this. Life is an amazing, tremendous gift, but it's all about growing and developing. It's all about growing and developing knowledge and wisdom. I took us off from where you were. No, I forgot where you were.
No,
So,
no, I was on the same topic of just simplicity, and we're growing with that, and the concept of simplicity, and then growing with knowledge. But I want the idea of growing. I think, what do you think people should grow into? Because if we're growing, what direction should we grow? Like, for example, a peach knows where to grow. It grows into a peach tree. It produces fruit. Where should humans grow to? Where should we grow to? Because I think we should try to grow to be divine, which is
yes,
another word for being like God. So, what are your thoughts on that, Jack Talcott?
I absolutely love that. And each of us will have a different idea of what that means. But if we don't think of the idea of growing, what does that mean to me? If we don't think about these things, right, it never becomes, I don't know, we never get clarity. For me, I would suggest, because the answer is different for each of us, but number one, I would encourage growth in knowledge. What does your heart want you to learn? What does your heart want you to discover? What does your heart want you to experience? And then the path is, what do I need to learn in order to become that, to get there, right? That's what I would suggest. Because we're here to learn and grow. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
Well, as it says, just after knowledge would be applied knowledge. You have to apply the knowledge to see what
Yes.
works for you and what doesn't work for you, and then you can observe and gain wisdom.
Yes. I love that. And I'd encourage people. These are things I never thought, I never heard before when I was young. Hopefully it's helpful. Um, but I'd encourage also evaluating often, right? Reevaluate yourself, like you just said. Put the wisdom, put the knowing into practice, and then see what the results are, and then see how you feel. Right? How do you feel with the results? What could you change or learn from it?
And that's what I did with the panel verse, with the knowledge I gained, with the wisdom I gained. I learned that with the little bit limited time I have, I don't want to be sitting here discouraging people. I want to be sitting here uplifting people. And I hope more people realize that we do have a little bit of time. And if you're really sitting on the internet, wasting it on other people in a negative way, that's just think about that. I want you to really think about that because Jack isn't doing that, and he's really trying to be positive, and that's what I'm here. And I hope more people realize what Jack's doing and can join the panel, share their knowledge, their applied knowledge and wisdom. The link's out there, guys.
Hey, I think we've got an ideal example of that. Someone who's positive and encouraging. Well, I'm wondering as I'm bringing him up, former Talcott supporter, but he's returned. So praise be. Welcome back.
You're muted.
He may have stepped away. That's all right. He'll return. And I believe it'll be fun. The guest typically has plenty to say and lots of energy, but we'll see where the day goes. Oh, he disappears. Well, praise be. Praise be.
So, what narratives are you writing today? Did you get a chance to get on Twitter and maybe try adding Elon Musk or Donald Trump today?
You know what? I've actually, with the support of AI, I've been exploring individualizing the different posts. And so I've started posting on X and Truth Social. And I may, if it's still going, there's another platform too, but I didn't tag anyone. And that's something I was wondering about as well. But
I would recommend, why not, Jack? Tag them in the title of your show.
Yeah.
Why not?
did.
Throw out every piece of yarn, or reach out, throw out every arm you have and see what grabs. And I think it would be fun. I think someone's gonna grab that arm, and you'd be surprised who shows up on a live show. It's an open panel. You never know who shows up.
That's been my hope, and that's what I'm aware of. Welcome back, former Talcott supporter. How are we today? How may I serve? See, things happen in my life, and I'm never really sure what should I do. What is the best thing? It's often hard to know, but what you were the conversation we were at, learning new things, right? So we can grow, putting those things into practice, so we grow in the experience. And what I was thinking of earlier, the topic, be willing to be wrong. I think we go through our day and we look for either lessons or excuses, right? And I think we spend a lot of time with excuses. A lot of the things we may find for our behavior or actions may not actually be accurate. This is what I realized about myself and what I see happening with a lot of others. So I encourage everyone. It's in line with the scripture. It's in line. these conclusions make this idea makes sense from so many different perspectives. Be willing to be wrong. Don't try to be wrong, but look for where you're wrong rather than excuses to show you're right. I mean, be right. With practice, we will. It requires the willingness, though, in the mind and the intention to tell yourself, you know, I'm doing all right. And with the good and the bad, I know I can do better. That's where it starts. Go ahead, Phil, please.
I agree. One of the ways helped me to admit I was wrong was hating on people's ideas when I want people to accept my ideas. How is that even possible? You know, how are people supposed to accept my ideas when I can't even accept other people's ideas? So I've learned that everybody's ideas should be respected, even though I don't agree with them. I don't have to say anything about it. I'm just here to
Mm.
enjoy the show and enjoy the ride and enjoy my piece of cake. And I've learned to respect everybody's ideas, even the horrible ones. But you got to let them have their freedom. So, what are your thoughts on that, Jack?
Yes. And I've actually witnessed you probably doing a better job than me at disengaging or just kind of letting things go just for the purpose of peace. The thing I've been trying to overcome is people's patterns of choosing disagreement over resolve. And we live in a world where poor behavior has been enabled. Hell, on this YouTube stuff, poor behavior is rewarded, right? It's the way we live in. The world we live in, right? The world we were born into, where everyone is taught to objectify and, I don't know, gather, hoard things, collect. That's the word I was thinking of. People have lost sight. There's no separation from an individual and the society. Every single one of us is a result of what our background has created. And the background includes the family, the relationships at school, in the community. It involves everything. I think we are the generation that's going to overcome the confusion. We'll unite together to create an intervention. This is how I described my goals of trying to speak with Musk and Trump. It's time for an intervention. Here, that one. I think it's time for an intervention because these guys, Musk and Trump, they are very influential men of today. And I don't think they recognize what's going on in the greater picture. They're not thinking longer term consequences for allowing the US representatives and ambassadors to continue promoting the wars, right? And it's not just, we've literally had representatives of America vetoing cease offers, right? Discussions of peace in Russia, Ukraine, in Palestine, Israel. U.S. representatives have vetoed many things, have stood in the way. I'm bringing that up for a reason. The world is out of control. The world is insane. United, we can help each other. I've said it before, sin and selfishness. Selfishness it's how sin is generated and shared. Through sin and selfishness, the world has become divided, but it's all a part of a perfect story. It's all a perfect unfoldment. And we were all given a perfect example. And so if we unite together, Righteousness shall unite us, because it is righteous to unite. It is righteous to join together for the purpose of peace. And this is what I want to bring into the U.S. Congress. This is our lifetime. I trust that God has some miraculous things going on in the world. Hey, I pray for peace within everyone. I pray that battles be resolved, because there's no reason to keep perpetuating these wars and aggressions. I mean, we've got to realize all of these children that have been separated from their migrant parents at the U.S. border, all of these children are going to remember these experiences of being separated from their parents. And, with the U.S. being behind all these bombs dropping and funding the opposition and the continuation of war, man, there's a lot of children that are going to grow up with some resentments. There's already a lot of grown children with resentments. I think we've met a number of them online. Praise God, man. I don't know what the future's going to bring, Philip. Here, please. I always welcome your thoughts. Let me sit back.
Did you see that? I believe it was India just made peace with another country.
Did they?
Yeah, because I guess there was something to do with, unfortunately, some tourists were injured. Some Indian tourists were injured in another country, so they retaliated. But I guess they ended it, and people are describing it like a dance-off. They ended the war by opening the gate and kind of having a dance-off. It was kind of funny, but it was a ceremonial kind of thing. But people considered it a dance-off and put music behind it. So I think, I hate to say it, but if people could end wars with dance-offs, that'd be freaking great. Or if like there was another one with bottle rockets, if you gave all the soldiers with bottle rockets, so if you got hit, you're automatically out, but you don't get hurt. You know what I mean? You came back with bottle rockets, and like, so just give all the soldiers bottle rockets, so no one gets hurt, but we still have fun fighting. And then people would come out with these like Gatling gun, freaking bottle rocket makers. Like it'd just be a whole bunch of people having fun and dance off. So I think that's the future.
Philip, I friggin' love it.
Yeah.
My goal is I recognized it for myself, and I want to share the ideas with as many people as I can. We are here to create meaning. That means we can redefine things. Let's redefine how war is practiced, right? Let's stop the brutality and find more peaceful and fun ways to resolve our disagreements. There's got to be better ways. I know there's better ways. I seriously believe if this is true, these goals and ideas of a world without secrets and lies, where people all around the world were united, I believe this is the fulfillment of the early prophecies, right? And it's really the new kingdom. It's with us. And if that can be true with us, for us to start a new world, if you take these concepts and consider them, I'm sure, well, I'd be willing to entertain disagreements, but I can't see how. We live in a world where many people are convinced. Our friend Stephen has been convinced. We live in a hell realm. Why is that? Beauty. The beauty of Earth is undeniable. The intelligence of nature is unmistakable. The poor habits of mankind, that's where the evil's been. God gave us heaven, everything we need to prosper and live together and to thrive together in a near utopia, right? We've created hell on earth, and it happened because of mankind's selfishness. Hey, we got another man of scripture, devotion, and spirit. Welcome
Howdy.
back.
I want to say this. A lot of people want to blame God, but I say I agree with you. Humanity did this. Man did this. Our decisions did this. We're not in a predicament because God put us here. No, we didn't listen, and that's why we're here. We did not fucking listen. I'm sorry to cuss. We did not listen, and it makes me mad because I've messed up, and I know other people have, but there's people in higher power that have really messed up. It's like, yo, it's not our place. But that's why people want to blame God. It's like, no, look at man. Man's killed more men than God. You look at
Yeah.
the Old Testament. Oh, they killed all the Syrians. Oh, what about the angel of death? Dude, he was showing people like this is we have to align shit. Like these people were probably corrupt. These people were probably, whatever. But humans have done worse in like the eyes of anything that as God has ever done. Humans have done.
It just keeps on reminding me that if God can answer good prayers, I wonder if God can answer the ones that people put negative prayers out there. And so people have prayed for bad things, and maybe that's one of God's evil, not evil, but one of God's jokes. If you pray for evil, I'll give you what you asked for.
I
Yeah, but I
actually,
don't see it repercussing on people who are faith. It shouldn't have to. It shouldn't have to alter that time space, right? Or would it? Would it because then we'd have to learn that too.
here, consider this idea in that God's vastness, greatness, and God's perfection, it creates space and allows all things. And so, yes, God allowed mankind to choose to have wars. God allowed mankind to choose to support the ideas of wage slavery and this oligarchy fascist system. God allowed it, but mankind chose it. And Isaac, what I sincerely hope to help Donald Trump and Elon Musk and many others avoid, the longer they continue on these paths of selfishness and self-glorification, the more guilt they're going to feel because they're
Yeah,
making mistakes all the
I
time.
don't know that they are because
Well,
from what I see, that they are actually making the best moves possible for a grounded foundation of a stable society, a stable civilization, a stable government, which is America, and they don't want it to fall. That's what I see.
interesting.
I see that there's nowhere else in the world that is as peaceful as us. There's nowhere else in the world that's stable as us. There's nowhere else in the world that could do infrastructure like us with steel, aluminum, anything. Like they're
Isaac,
trying to protect that part of the subconscious mind that is stable. Right?
no,
That's pure though.
um,
It's pure, but it's
your
not fully aware. That's my theory. That's my
brother, you're I understand you're offering you're seeing the good and you're having faith, but I disagree. I disagree
which part?
completely with the strong foundation. That's not what's happening. I mentioned it before. I see Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Those two are working hand in hand with each other, and they're working towards American supremacy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's all about nationalism. And nationalism, the state, is not really the message of Christ or of
No,
peace.
not at all. It's very three dimensional.
Yeah, and their ideas of American supremacy, it's what they are. They think they are American supremacy because they get treated that way. But
But how
what they're
many people in a state of like a higher intelligence would ever step to that stronghold or role unless they were called to it? Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
Isaac, yes, God's got them where they're supposed to be
That's what I'm
based
wondering.
upon, but they don't see the opportunities. They're
Can you answer?
still
What?
I see them still clouded in their egoic pride, right? They haven't fallen.
Yeah,
They haven't
but
been
there's
through
also
the dark night of the soul
the
yet.
side to me that wonders, do they know of the majority of people who see the egoic side that they play that role to harmonize the mind of those kind of people? Like they play both sides. Like if you could read it, you could read it, but if you can't, you can't. But there's a balance where they have to speak to both people,
Hey,
right?
Isaac, I don't think you're understanding me.
Okay, maybe not.
Um,
Well, I think is okay. No, you first. You first.
well, it's
I just think they're smart enough to play out the way they speak and do that they know the audience are looking at, and that's
no.
my theory behind it.
Well, your theory, I don't want to argue about the theory, but I can present why you're wrong
Like to
because
learn.
what I was saying is they're very egoic. They're suffering from these delusions of grandeur, and they think
Yeah,
that's what American supremacy means. They think American supremacy is wealth and authority. And in the past, wealth and authority have been supreme in America, right? Because people have grown up worshiping the almighty dollar and
gotcha.
not really appreciating the opportunities that life brings forth.
Yeah, now it's a little more clear. That yeah. So
So
that it's like you could be sold out to how would I even put that in English? What you just said is clear, but I want to kind of portray it. So I think you did it good enough. I don't know. I just can't think of a good like metaphor, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
thank you. The solution I see, though, I do see solutions. I don't think just sitting back and watching Donald Trump and the administration continue the path they're going, because he's telling everyone what he's doing, and people aren't paying attention. They're just making up their stories and believing the stories they want to believe in. It is. We're living through these times of prophecies. Brothers and sisters, the time is now. Align with the truth, with love. A love for the truth will set us free. And Isaac, I don't know how to accomplish this, but I trust in my heart that if God can give me a chance, if people get on board with this and we find a way to make it
Hey, can I
happen,
make a prayer?
please.
All right. Heavenly Father, we approach you today in humbleness and appreciation for your sacrifice on the cross, and we come before you and understand that you want to open up our minds and open up our hearts to understand that we could do the same as you and just fully grasp ourselves into awareness that like everyone is us and we are everyone. And I don't know, kind of lost track, and I'm sorry, God. I thought I had a deeper prayer for you, but I want to say this: I love everyone and much love and appreciation. I lost track, but I thought I had something a little deeper.
Well, the direction was right, Isaac. You started with the prayer that God support us in becoming more like He, the one at the right hand of God, right? The one man God chose, the man God chose to glorify. May we become more like Him. And seriously, Isaac, when I started seeing the similarities, the difference between him and me is, well, I'm physical. I'm here and now. I didn't believe Jesus was here for me to know. I just thought he was in the mind of others. I didn't even believe that Jesus could be in the heart of others until I found it in myself.
Mhm. I've seen that too. I went
And it,
into my dad runs a CrossFit gym, and I clean the floors. And I went in the other day. There was one guy that has the key. He was working out, listening to Christian worship music, and it really opened my heart. It's like, wow, other people dive into this. Other people like care about this. Other people think about this, and it opened my heart and made me have a almost a revelation experience, like seeing someone else in that they're working out as hard as they can, playing worship music. It was like it showed me there's something deep going on. It was beautiful. I just want to share that.
well, Isaac, if you can really expand your mind into infinite possibilities,
Yeah.
I believe it is possible that God has prepared me and placed it in my heart. I know for a fact that I could be a good advisor for Donald Trump, better than that Heritage Foundation and the Agenda 2025 that he's working on.
Feel it.
Um,
There's a guy on YouTube. He gets about 1,000 viewers for live stream, and I should find him really quick for you. Maybe that'd be a really good connection because I think he's close. He does political. He'll go to the rallies of like the lefties or the rights, and he'll kind of ask questions. I don't know. He's kind of right in between. Maybe I should find him for you and see if you can get in contact with him. Because I know he's close. I think in the next 6 months he'll be talking to Trump. Pretty sure.
So, Jack,
God, I got this fly around me. Fucking
Yeah.
tripping out on camera.
So I've been thinking, Jack, and this is kind of naive and kind of dumb, but I think one of the questions you could ask Donald Trump, and I think this might help, is for the U.S. to get rid of its nuclear army, like its nuclear supply. Like, if we got rid of our nuclear bombs, then what? We aren't the protectors of the world anymore. You know what I mean? We leave it up to God. And if anybody wants to nuke the United States and our great nation, they have the rest of the world to deal with, and we will recover. So I think if you could present that idea to Donald Trump, I think is one of the first steps we can end war. Is just saying the U.S. doesn't participate in that idea anymore. That nuclear war is something of the past.
Yeah. I would agree to 90% of that. I would say that there's a 10% of the world's population that probably has access to something like that wouldn't give it up. That's my theory. So like
well,
you give it up, then now like yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could portray it on the front lines as like, yo, we want to surrender. Yeah, and it might change their mind. I think
well,
there's people that even if you lay down your arms, you lay down your guns, there's people gonna come at you with them. That's my
Isaac,
thing.
well, based on the past, that's a reasonable belief. But I trust that God wants us to work together to overcome those things of the past. And
Yeah.
Philip, that's
I said I agree
exactly.
90%. I agree 90%, but there's that 10% of fear.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
my
hey, like you
my
said, live without
brand,
fear. Yeah.
that's exactly it. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this is coming through, but I just got this, and there's I'll be attending an information thing about it tomorrow night.
It's nice and clear,
Um,
Jack. You're sharing it.
Apparently, on June 14th, Donald Trump will host a $92 million military parade, flaunting the destructive prowess of U.S. militarism while wasting taxpayer dollars amidst his government's life-threatening cuts to basic social services. So, Veterans for Peace are preparing and working with other organizations, and I bring that up in part to share the news for anyone interested. You know, Veterans for Peace has info. You can reach out to me, whatever.
That sounds like one hell of a party. I mean, millions.
Yeah, for the parade, $92 million. You're right. And it took me a moment to understand where you were looking at, Signal, but you're absolutely right. $92 million party. What is June 14th? I mean, I don't understand what's the 14th. You guys know?
Yeah, it's 2 days before my birthday. That's why. I'm just kidding. Hey, I don't know. I'm joking. But no, I've heard Juneteenth. Juneteenth is something. I just can't remember.
That's June
I
9th.
don't celebrate that myself.
I'm
I don't remember.
confident Donald Trump isn't recognizing Juneteenth as
Oh, yeah,
well.
I mean, it's
stands
something to
out.
celebrate. I mean, it should be a holiday. Unfortunately, the president doesn't see it that way.
Actually,
I mean, I don't know about holiday. I wouldn't say holiday. I mean, a day of remembrance is the right term.
right. commemoration, remembrance. That's
Yeah.
appropriate. You're right. History is interesting.
Right, that's true. The basically, I mean, it seems like like the LGBT kind of took June. It seems that way, honestly.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. That's what I thought of.
Unfortunately,
Well,
I mean,
this is part of the divide in mankind. All the different narratives. There really are. There's so many traditions. There's so many different customs that who knows what is good, what is appropriate. I remember as a kid, I'm going to share a story of Jack's past, right? I remember as a kid growing up with my mom and my stepfather out in the boonies. Their homesteaders were vegans, right? And my stepfather was very good about offering me different perspectives and education. So I learned about the different religions. I learned about mystical I learned about Buddhism and Islam and Christianity and a little bit of Hinduism. I learned about a lot of things growing up. Well, one day my mom thought she was doing the right thing, and so she allowed me to. No, it was before I started eating school lunch. Sorry to keep going. I remember eating lunch at the lunchroom. Yep, and we were having burgers. And as I was eating the burger, I apologized to those around me, right? If I was offending someone, because it had bacon on it too. And so I was thinking about the other people. And
That's hilarious. Like, not hilarious, but so, like, the first time I took a large, very large dose of acid, I went to In-N-Out. And I know, I'm sorry, I don't want to say that, but I went to In-N-Out and I bought a burger. And I looked at it, I'm like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we eating meat? I was like,
right?
this ain't right. Something ain't right. I still ate it, but I had the thought. And then I've actually been vegan for a year and a half. And I never felt healthier. I never felt better in my mind. I never felt better in my soul from being a vegan for a year and a half. And I went back on it only because I went to a psychology place that put me on medicine that made me like go back to being meat eater. Like it was supposed to be to help my anxiety, but it made me not care about anything. So I just didn't. I just ate meat again. But I will say I never felt better.
you didn't care about
Year
the
and a half vegan.
suffering of the animals that you've killed.
Yeah, it does hurt me a lot, actually.
I guess that's one hell of an anxiety pill. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, dude. No,
You know
it
what's
hurts me.
funny, dude? Spirit Man. I knew this girl. Like I knew her for many years, right? She was a vegetarian, vegan, whatever, right? And then years later she became a pescatarian, and it's so funny. She told me, "Oh, I'm a pescatarian now because the fish don't have any pain receptors. They don't feel pain." It's just such a bizarre
That is kind of true.
whatever people it's less about the actual impact that they have on the world, and it's more about how it affects them,
The mind.
how it makes them feel. That's what
Yes,
it's about.
I get
that's
that.
That's
actually
my
Hey,
own
that's hella clear. What you just said is pretty key.
here. That's actually very important. Philip,
Yeah.
were you going to jump in there?
Well, it's just preferences. People have see certain preferences, and it's pretty extreme right now. What people like and they don't like, and we're like it's like a hobby. It's a hobby of preferences right now, and it's kind of sad. But I was more interested, Jack. So when did you adopt being a vegan? Because like you kind of described, you ate it as a child, meat as a child. So did you adopt it early or kind of late?
No, it's part of my story. Stepfather, real strict, real conscious of everything, government and diet, nutrition. And so we were vegans. But my mom had attachments to society. So she taught me it was okay to lie. And so we would eat burgers outside of the household. She'd let me eat whatever, right? So, and then at 15, she split from him. So I became fast food was my diet. Mom's a single mom. She's feeding us a lot of processed food and stuff that's quick. You know, she's working and trying to do everything.
What was your go-to fast food itch back in the day?
Well, it changed for a while. It changed. Initially, it was fucking McDonald's, man.
Oh yeah. I still love McDonald's, brother.
No. And then yeah, at the end, Taco Bell was probably my favorite. It's unfortunate.
That's
too.
not even real move.
McDonald's is great until you go to McDonald's. It just smells like ass.
Well, here's the thing. We've
Literally,
come out
there's McDonald's that you walk in and it just like there's not even nobody in there.
that's
Well, you heard about
And
the
it
other
just smells
countries,
like ass. It's
right?
crazy.
They would make certain meats out of all the shit from the sewer and sell it. It's actually real, and it makes me wonder.
well, here's the thing. We live in a very corrupted and truly evil world. We live in the material world, the physical world, but once we get beyond that into the intelligent energies, there's dark forces, there's light forces. They bring us ideas, they're messengers of answers because God is the truth, right? And so we get these messengers of good ideas and bad ideas, and then we tell ourselves a story, and then the story becomes our lives. I've been learning how to embrace the silence, right? Realize that
That's a Depeche Mode song, isn't it?
If you
Enjoy
can
the
silence your thoughts,
silence.
you have mastered a high level of like meditation. If you can
Jack,
silence your
it's
thoughts,
there.
you
it's
are
the goal.
you've done something miraculous.
You
There are
remember
so
Purple
many
Belt.
people that they can't be in silence. It's
No,
bizarre.
especially silencing your thoughts. It's very hard. Like it's
Actually,
more of not doing it than doing it. You have to not do it.
right,
To do it.
right. And it's in line with this topic today. Accepting simplicity.
Oh,
Silence is the absence of effort. It's so
yes.
simple.
So close. Like, I mean, not so close. Exactly what you're saying. When you're not thinking, you're not like trying to defend your mind. You're not trying to like portray your mind. You're not trying to like prioritize your mind. When you're thinking so much, you're either defending your mind or defending your ego or defending something. It's dude, it gets
Memories.
so hard.
Yeah.
Silence
Sorry,
of the mind is a art.
I interrupted by what you were saying about fighting memories. We fight against facts when we don't want to humble ourselves and accept the bitter, ugly, unfair truth of what life brings. Life is unfair. Our opinions only matter to us. Coming back to an earlier ideas with the feelings, it is so important for us to learn how to understand our inner feelings. Those are real, and they're real important for us to learn from. But we live in a world that wants to deny the feelings of others, wants to deny the feelings of ourselves. But
Jack, I think there's plenty of people that understand themselves and they care about themselves, arguably maybe a little bit too much. I think the world could use more of people deciding to understand others. And not to derail from understanding yourself, because understanding yourself is also how you affect others and the
correct.
world at large. But it's not just about yourself. It's not,
But
and it's also not just about the other person. It's about the system at large, how you affect everyone, also not just individual third parties from yourself.
you are right. And what I've learned, you got to know yourself. You must pay attention and learn from your experience. Your experience includes others. So we're here to learn from others to know who we are, because who we are is a relationship. We are in a relationship with time and the universe. It's glorious. It's a love story. Allow the relationship with you and all that is to be intimate, to be whole, so that you become one with the experience of you, as God is one with the
Yeah, I
experience
was gonna say it's
of
like
you.
very like synchron. I don't know quite the word, but like when you have an experience with God, you have an experience with yourself on some level, and like you can tune into that straight up.
The silence, the power of silence. This idea, if you can accept these ideas for yourself and understand that that is the goal to be Christ like, the goal to discover your Buddha nature, is to learn how to still the mind. And you still the mind not through effort, but through allowance and acceptance. And we accept the silence,
Yes.
accept
But
the stillness.
I could accept the silence of my mind, right, and be at peace forever and sit in a cave for 30 years and never come out, right? But
Yo,
what is the
yo, yo.
power to what's the power to still your mind and then have a thought
Right.
after you stilled your mind? What's the power to have a thought after? You see what I'm saying? So
Recognizing
there
the,
is some value to speaking once you have stilled your mind, but it's because you've collected yourself.
yes, we listen in the silence. We hear nothing when the inner voice or the outer voice is going. We hear ourselves, and sometimes it's important for us to communicate with ourselves, but truly, silence is a strength that I've been learning how to grow in, which again, here's Jack's life, make life more difficult for you, buddy. You want to grow online as a YouTuber, but practice silence, Jack. Do that at the same time, right? What the frick do I do?
¿Por qué no
I think
los
there's a
dos?
certain degree of listening and learning, but also a certain degree of expressing your own
Yes.
opinions and learning
Doing.
from that and evolving
Yeah, assertions.
as everybody else does.
You kind of do have to express yourself in order to learn too, because you at least
Yeah,
have to put that initial radar blip out on the screen,
yeah.
and then
Even
you'll
if you
get your
get
feedback.
rejected or
And
not, you put yourself out there like similar, like to any aspect, whether it be thought, relationship, anything. Um, you have
If
to.
you're not
You have to open
losing
your
or
mouth,
failing,
but
you're
nothing
not
will happen.
learning.
Well, if you're not paying attention, you're just going through the motions too. Um, and I loved how you express it, Denizen, how you said it, Denizen. You express. It's important to express, and it ties back to what Philip was saying about taking the lessons and put them into practice. We express what we've learned through what we do. What we do and say, that's going to show what we think. The idea is really so simple. The idea is to become honest and to become whole, united with mind and heart and the universal expression of time, because that's all
Do
we
you
are. We're
think
just
that, Jack,
moments.
do you think there should be a universal language for us all to universally speak and to be understood and have a universal communication?
come on, this is an easy one.
Discernment.
It's
Well,
already love.
there you go. Thank you.
I
That is
stole that
perfect.
Jack Talcott right out from underneath you.
God, that was a
I mean,
perfect answer.
that's a nice platitude, but I mean, like, I'm communicating, like, literally with words. Like,
Oh,
can you move this
I
thing
think
over
there
I
should
here?
be, but love is a language for sure.
Yes. And I have given that
Uh,
some thought. There's a perfection and a clumsiness to the English language that I really admire. I admire both. But should there be a universal language around the world? I don't know. In my opinion, right? And that's what you're asking for, is an opinion. In my opinion, there's good and bad to that choice, but it's not my place to choose. And I think when mankind starts uniting, and we're not just dependent upon wealth and authority, we can actually discuss crazy ideas like that
But
too.
that's the thing, is that where is the discussion if there is no sort of at least somewhat unified language? I think that
Don't you
that
think
is
we'll have a
exactly where the
universal?
discussion would begin.
Yeah,
No.
like you
Is
want to break it
some
down on that level. Like
some?
we speak on a vibrational level of coherence somehow.
I mean,
It makes no
again,
sense,
that's
and it's all
okay. But
relativity.
you can't vibrationally tell me, "Hey, Sig, go move this piece of furniture."
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Don't
Or
you
you
think
can't
Because
say,
that
"Go
a
move
universal
these
translator would
blocks of
precede that?
cement." That's
the
not
fact that we're even, hey, the fact we can even have this conversation in
there.
this tune, in this
The
frequency, and
reason we can
understand
have
each other
this
this much
communication is because
is a
we have the
miracle.
shared language of English.
It's a
That's the
miracle.
point that I'm asking.
let's
Yeah, I get what
pause.
you're saying. I'm trying to crack the key.
Okay, let's pause,
Okay.
please. Because what I'm witnessing and experiencing, signal, back to your question about universal language, and you pointed out that, without a universal language, then there's no agreement. Hell, we're sharing the same language. And when we're talking at the same time,
Sorry.
we're not really paying attention or considering what's
Well,
going
you know
on.
what's even worse than interrupting each other? Me going clock, 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 clink, clonk, clink, clonk, clink, clonk, clock, clock, clock. You don't even understand it. It's even worse than me interrupting you. Click,
Can
clock,
I
clink,
res-
clock, 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 clink, clonk, clink, clonk, clock, clock. You've got
Can I
no
It's a
clue
respond
what
to
language
your
I'm
that I
question?
saying.
can't. Yeah.
Can I
It's
respond
weird.
to your question?
Sure, go
Please.
ahead, I'm listening.
Don't you think a universal translator would precede a universal language?
Oh yeah,
Like
for sure,
especially with it,
definitely.
and then become practical.
Humans can hardly unify for anything, unfortunately, let alone a
Well,
language.
It's
signal,
not
this
that
is
far
where,
off, right?
yeah, this is where this is my path, my life path, signal. So I'm sorry to jump in here, but yes, in the past, mankind has been divided, but it's only narratives that divide people. Because if we go to the facts, today, right now, is the same day for all of us. We're all united in time
I
at
mean,
this
even
point.
that, you can argue that different
You're right.
cultures and traditions and religions have all had their own time, right? If you go to Europe, they are on 24 hours time.
Signal,
You go to
signal,
America, you're on 12 hours time. I
In this
don't
signal.
moment,
think I
I think he's
necessarily
saying
agree with
nothing's
what you're saying.
happening. Nothing's
Right.
happening in this moment, and we're all in tune in this moment. That's pretty wild.
And both of you are like kind of missing out on what
Oh,
I'm
I thought
trying
that's
to
what you.
do. Because signal, your disagreement, you missed the point. You focused on your disagreements and your doubts, and you didn't consider my words. You were very quick with a retort. But this is a
Quick with it,
problem.
what can I say?
I'd much rather you ask yourself, what
I'm
can I
considering what you're
understand?
saying.
Well, no, not as well as you could be. Okay. And you're doing good. You're doing much
What's
better than we've
your
done in the past. And
opinion?
I appreciate it. It is my opinion, but my
Okay.
opinions are based on facts. And this is the pattern I hope to bring clarity to many others. Your opinions don't change facts. Your opinions don't override facts. If
Yeah.
you're ignoring facts for your opinion, you're confused and you're lying to
But in this
yourself.
day of age, Jack, I would say that
Oh,
facts are
definitely.
very hard to know that it's a fact unless it's scientific. If it's media based, how do I know it's a fact? If it's like scientifically or no, if it's sociologically based, how do I know it's a fact? If it's like anything other than science or math, how do I know it's fucking real? Like that's the hard part nowadays. I would
It's
say.
only, how about this? I'm going to be insulting, but a lesson. It's only hard to know for the confused. Give up your confusion and you can know.
I'll agree to that. But there's a
I
majority
would
of the
argue
population
that
that does
there's
not
a lot of
understand
people
that.
that think that
There's
they
a
know.
majority. Yes. What are you saying?
I think there's a lot of
majority
people that think that they know and they understand things. Maybe they don't. And that's the problem, is that you need to be constantly in a state of questioning your beliefs and questioning your opinions and your beliefs.
Yes
People
and
like to
no.
get set in their ways and believe that they're ultimately right and have no contradictions to it. I think it's important to always have an
Right.
open mind in that regard.
Yes,
I would like to add something real quick, if you don't mind.
please do. Please.
Well, it seems like a universal language isn't working here if you can't even agree with English, right? You
There
can't
you
even agree
go.
with English. So universal language isn't going to work. We just have technology for that. Let's just keep it simple and just love each other and be positive, and you'll be surprised what a thumbs up will do. I mean, I think sign language is our universal language. It can be used throughout the whole world with no sound at all, and we can portray everything we need to portray. Either
feel that.
way, Jack Talcott, you have a great one. Everyone on the panel, Isaac, Signal, Denizen, take care. You all have a great day. I'm out. I've done my
Philip,
hour.
why do you
I've used my
fear me?
energy.
Anyway,
Much love.
you opened
Take
my
care,
mind
buddy.
to a really bizarre thought.
Thank you,
Very
Phil.
bizarre thought.
You want to
Oh,
share the
he
bizarre
left.
thought? Thank you, Philip.
Sure.
I
So
appreciate your journey,
if we
brother.
were all in perfect harmony, where would we start and why? What would we do if we were in perfect harmony? What would we do right now in this exact moment?
Let's play this through.
Yeah, it made me think what he's just said.
Have you
before.
guys ever seen that clip where it's like, I don't know if it's AI or something, it's like an animation of like people are going across a giant crosswalk and it's like a 4-lane highway and like cars are going by, there's no traffic lights and they're all just seamlessly going through, the people are walking by, nobody's getting hit by a car, no cars are crashing, but they're all just going by each other like
Hey,
nothing.
Signal,
Ever
what
seen
is
that?
your point?
I think you were mentioning something related to
Like
that.
synchronicity
No,
of
you
no
totally
accidents
missed.
Hold on.
happening.
Hold on, Isaac,
Wait.
please. Hold
Okay.
on, Signal.
Isaac was saying something
No,
related earlier.
maybe earlier, but you deflected the topic in the conversation from what he just said.
Hold on.
Okay, so you're
Can
not
we?
paying
Can we?
attention, and I don't want to argue. Please be respectful and chill
Sounds
out.
like you're trying to argue.
No,
I
I
want
get
to
it. I get what
welcome
he's saying. I
Daisy.
get what he's saying. I think we just kind of missed the gap right there.
I want to welcome Daisy as well, but I had just said, let's play that thought through because the question was asked something about if we were
Well,
in
the
harmony
thought.
together.
All in
That's
what would
exactly
harmony.
you
what I
do?
was referring to. That.
No,
I
you
think
were
he was.
talking about
Hey,
some
Jack.
video you saw
I think
that
he
had no
misinterpreted.
support or relevance.
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, Isaac, I was talking.
No, sorry.
What were you saying?
I think he got it, but I think he might have misinterpreted part of it. It's hard to explain. But hey,
How about
introduce
this?
everyone. Let us hear everyone.
Yeah, I'm not sure whose noise is coming through. It might be Daisy. I'm not sure. Welcome, Daisy. What's going on with you?
How's it going?
Daisy, blessed.
I'm
How are
gonna have
you?
to drop. We got some weather coming.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to. There it comes. You hear it?
All right. So I paused the conversations and interrupted the flow for that. Thank you for the heads up that you might be
It
leaving
wasn't
soon.
supposed to be here till 5 o'clock, but
No,
it
Oh,
got
well,
here.
praise God. Okay, so please, this
I
idea,
would
what
like to
would we
say,
do? Yes, please. I'm sorry. What would you like to say, Daisy?
Jack, if something doesn't revolve around you, you get hateful with people, and you're not ever gonna get to folks like that. If something doesn't do you, and somebody says, like, I like Nate, like, you brought up the birds and the bees, and he's like, yeah, and the bird. And I just, it was so cringy, Jack. But you
Jack,
will
I
not
gotta
let him
find the
talk.
video that I was
You
referring
gotta
to, but
let
I
him.
was referring to
Who's talking over
the
me?
conversation earlier. I don't know
Well,
why you
I
kicked
only
me
have a
out, Jack.
minute, so please don't talk over me,
He's gone.
whoever you
Please,
are.
please continue, Daisy. He's in the back now.
Well, Jack, it's not all you, baby. It, you
So
gotta
hold on,
understand. Like if somebody
Daisy.
says something, like,
Daisy.
well, yeah, this one day I went.
Daisy, I muted you. Okay. Because I've been sitting here and listening. It sounded like you reset and you're starting over, and I don't want to sit and loop. You can go on complaining for days. So, what's the solution? What would you like? What would your heart
How about
want?
this, Jack? How about you fuck off?
That was constructive. There you go.
All right. I'll
Oh
play
my
along.
god.
Wish granted.
Holy cows. This is my life, man. Strangers. Strangers
Wish
online.
granted.
I didn't mean to yell. I was caught
I
off
think the
guard.
signal guy is trying. It's
You know
which
what?
makes it super ironic about how he can do and say what he did and said. Like it was just wonderful to watch him. Like and be like, we should not do this thing, and then he does it right after he says don't do it. But
Mr.
maybe
Isaac,
ironically, the
Mr.
harmony
Isaac
video.
gets it.
Here we
That's
go.
all
Jesus
it is.
Christ.
I don't know what's wrong
Maybe
with Jack,
just
the
kidding.
but
video he
Isaac
was
gets
referring
it.
to did have
tuning
something
in.
to do with harmony after all.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah. Denizen, thank you. And Isaac, I want to caution you. Please listen and learn from others. Signal, you got put in the back because once again, you just started speaking over someone else for your own thoughts. You're not showing respect. You're not sharing respect. And respect is available to be shared by all of us, okay? So, and Signal, I don't mean to be rude, but I really wanted to go with that question. What could we do if we were on the same page and harmonized with the same frequency, the same ideas? Holy cows, man.
No, that is a wild one. It takes a lot of people to build like a company. It takes a lot of people to build a house. It takes a lot of people to build trust. We could do something for sure that it's hard to explain, but yeah, what could we like harness through every perspective of ours to better humanity? And it sounds so cheesy, and it's like I know it
Well,
sounds cheesy,
no, it
but
does
it's
until you.
real.
This actually, Isaac, this is another lesson I learned from the ego, right? The mind, the ego, it'll judge things, it'll make jokes and say how
Yeah,
stupid an idea is until
like
you take a step. And once you take a step in that direction and you start figuring out, oh man, maybe that wasn't so dumb. Maybe that was pretty smart. Praise God. Maybe this Holy Spirit is leading me on the right path.
I like it. Okay, I hear you.
Guys, in my testimony, God's allowed me many opportunities to prove myself wrong when I said, I will never. Because I said I'd never fail in many ways that I failed. But I also never thought that I could have a relationship with God, a love so incredible that I've never thought was possible. I tell you what, if you want to be like Jesus,
I
there's
agree.
one key: love. Love
Yeah,
God.
and it's something that I felt so deep inside of my soul that I want to show it to other people that I encounter, whether it be any
Yes.
interaction, anything they've done, anything they might be struggling with, crying over, like if I can be that person to help them or be that person to speak life into them, like yo, it's not over, like it's okay. I fully like I hear you. That's amazing.
Do you love God, Isaac?
I love God. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying when I say I love God because we don't really know. But when I look deep into my soul and I see the imprint of a being that is gracious and loving and kind and whatever word might want to use. I look and I see myself as him and I see him as myself. So I'm not looking at what history tells me. I'm looking at my soul tells me this shit's good. And I know I cussed again. I'm sorry. But like, yeah, and it kind of ruins it. Right? I cussed. It kind of just kills the vibe. But what I'm saying is, there's a relationship between the harmonic resonance of my heart that I've seen in other humans that like makes me see the representation of the harmonicity. That's like, there's something to this. And I know I'm crazy and in a coma and had a coma or whatever and barely here.
Well,
I know
I'm
I'm barely here.
wondering how I can practice what you're preaching as an atheist, as someone that
I
doesn't
would say
make some of
this.
those
I would say
same.
this. I would say this. Um, if you know what hardship's like, and you see someone else going through hardship, you should try to understand the situation and realize that we're not in this alone. Like most of us are going through hardship. Like most humans are probably pushing through, playing an act to be strong.
Everyone is.
Yeah. Most people are like most adults, most parents, they're playing the strong card. Like they're like, yeah, I'm strong
Hardship is
here.
relative.
Yeah. But it's
That's what
like
I
That's
we're
the
was
all
thing
thinking.
people don't understand.
yeah, like
Here,
That was
let
my
me,
thought to that.
what I would suggest, I think I remember the question you asked. Without a relationship with God, the goal either way is to be of calm mind and good nature wherever you go, right? Throughout your day. So the goal is to be present, keeping your mind and heart together. And the key to life, it's so simple, so obvious. It's to follow your heart, but with wisdom, right? What do you want? What does your heart want you to experience? What would be the greatest story of you from where you are and what you've been through? Because this idea Isaac brought up, if people could harmonize, right, in this crazy idea, and the goal was, first we'd need to unify on a goal, but we can unite any day, any time. Wars can end any day, any time in the global arena as well as the interpersonal wars, the interior wars. They can all be resolved by agreement.
I believe it. I
Um,
pray for it.
if I'm having trouble staying present in mind, right? Because I think that was your primary answer, and I
Yes.
agree with that. So we have common ground there. Um,
Yeah, I've been in a coma.
can it
And what's weird
translate
is
to
Isaac.
practice
Isaac.
I'm sorry.
or create a semantical link between love, God, relationship, and how I, as an atheist, can experience it? Because you usually can, So if you can in this case.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I may have been thinking about the answer, may have lost sight of your question, but my the paradigm you're going to face is faith, because to be at peace in the present, you got to have faith, and you got to have faith in what you don't know. But if you can, here, peace. Peace is found in the absence of resistance, and resistance is most often found in the labels and in the judgment.
Oh,
So I
can we
suggest,
surrender? Would that work?
yes, surrender, and surrender the labels, and surrender the desire or the feeling that you need to surrender. Just let it all go and let it be gone.
Even the feeling to surrender, you surrender. That's tight. That's wise.
Yeah. This is
No one
the
ever spoke English to me like that.
I heard this pointed out by
Nice throwback.
some other teachers, right? That which is seeking to know is actually in the way of knowing.
Yeah,
There's,
that's similar to what I got from what you said.
what we have is a world.
wow.
People have normalized living in doubts. People have normalized all sorts of crazy behaviors, man. This world is literally insane. It's an insane asylum.
Yes, and I feel like I'm part of it.
You are
For reals. Yeah.
Dude,
until you're not.
yeah. I'm telling you, I had these
Oh,
theories like
I'm crazy as
I
a
said
loon.
earlier. If we could break out of the binds of the world, the binds of the timeline, what would we be thinking about and what would we do? Like it blows my mind because I know I'm egotistically tied. I know that I'm solely bound in flesh in a three-dimensional body to my timeline for my pleasures or my existence. And it's like, what would happen if I could get out of that? To me, that's
You know what I would do?
true.
I would love to smoke crack with Jesus and the disciples.
Legit though,
No,
actually.
I
hey,
think
we do
Jesus
we do
and
shrooms.
it would
We
be
do
lit.
shrooms. We don't do crack.
I
yeah.
think
If I were outside the 3D consequences, I would smoke crack with Jesus.
I find
mean,
that
I
to
don't
be
think
I think Jack
choice
Jesus
wouldn't
would have a
understand, but I get
problem
the
with that,
joke.
that.
I get the
honestly.
joke though.
Well,
No, so I mean, if
here,
as
tell you
long as
what,
it's not ruining.
I've heard what you said. Please, Signal.
Yeah.
And I
You
know
can't
you don't have
overplay
a
the joke.
purpose for your time or life, but I do. Regarding this, what would you do? This is it. I'd find a way to speak with Donald Trump. And
I'm like 2 people away from Donald Trump, bro. 2 people.
well, help me open doors because the
I
goal
I
is
don't even know how to open the door. But my dad's my dad went to college with Joe Rogan. Yeah.
What the fuck does
actually,
that have to do with Trump?
it's
Well,
funny you
Joe
say
Rogan
that.
had Donald Trump on his podcast, so I'm 2 away.
He's
Oh shit, I
actually
gotta see
another.
that.
My dad, Joe Rogan could call my dad by name from college. Yeah. Straight up. And I'm not kidding.
So
I'm just saying.
Isaac,
I'm just wondering if
with
I could.
with
But
respect and love, can I please bring your awareness to what you're doing? You're just
my
going on with
awareness is
stories.
only subjective to my misunderstanding.
You're interrupting me and others. You're speaking over others again. You're not
I'm out.
actually.
I'm out.
Are you running from the truth? Seems to be something. He avoids conflicts. I've seen him step out when things get ugly, but that running is also a pattern that people do when they're not prepared for what is true. I don't run anymore. When I find the fears and the insecurities, even the insults and the attacks, I kind of lean into it. What do you got to teach me? What can I discover about myself? I mean, this is the stuff I'm sharing. I practice these things, right? I seek to be accurate. I'm willing to be wrong. I accept when I'm right. And when I don't know, I don't know. But I've been learning how to be comfortable with not knowing. And that, Denizen, that's God. You already know God. You already have a relationship with God. It's
When I ask you to break it down and translate it, and I'd have to agree with you, but that is a source of confusion for me. I don't know if you understand that or not.
I don't understand. I honestly, I don't understand well enough to understand your resistance.
To God, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To accepting that God is there, whether you recognize it or not. It's the power behind the truth that you know. It is the source of the feelings of love. The love we feel, the love we share with each other, it's offered forth through the creative forces, the intelligent design of us. Denizen, if anything, I trust that your purpose, my purpose here on earth, we're here to learn and discover who we are, learn and discover who and what the world is.
But I believe that's my choice.
Yep, it is.
So it's mere circumstance and chance that you and I agree on so many of those things.
Yes. We agree.
Or you would say I'm being obtuse about the fact that I got it from God. Maybe that would be your argument, right? Is that God is right around the corner, and so I can see the obvious truth. I'm resistant to insert here.
No, this is it's a perfect design, and it's a perfect unfoldment, because you and I see the same page on many ways, because we've both developed the attribute and the willingness to be reasonable, right? To actually consider what others are saying. And your ability to communicate. I've learned from you, right? You being in my experience and us dialoguing, even if we don't agree fully, I'm learning how to communicate better. And we're each learning our own paths. I've come to the conclusion, though, I have no doubts, not a doubt in my being about God.
Why call it God? What utility or purpose does that have?
It's the language, I guess, that I grew up with in the society that I grew up with. My story is what it is. I did not want the Bible to be right. I didn't want I didn't want any religion to be right, probably, if I'm honest, right? I wanted them all to be wrong. And what I found is truth in all of them. And I found God before I looked at Jesus closely, before I looked at the Bible closely. I found God through the intelligence of nature, right? The complexity of all the different life forms and the balance of the weather, the complexity of everything. I don't believe in randomness, right? Not anymore. I trust that everything is a perfect revelation, a perfect manifestation. Life is that. And we are the perfect revelation. We are the perfect manifestation. And we have the freedom to direct the world we live in.
Let's stop there, because this is where we disagree, I think.
Okay.
So maybe there's some wisdom here.
Please.
I think we're the ultimate inevitability, right? Rather than the perfect creation. Is that what you called it?
Perfect manifestation is
manifestation.
What I call it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are imperfect as fuck, are we not?
Well, again, it gets into definition of words. What is the standards and levels of perfection? What are we viewing? If you're looking at wholeness and functionality, well, the majority of people are whole and functional to some degree. But are we at our best?
No.
No. And that's where it supports what you're saying. We're clearly imperfect. I mean, hell, I couldn't see without corrective lenses, and I'm missing.
I could take that low-hanging fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Glasses would make my point alone.
Right. So there's clearly, I don't know, nature is a mystery. This is what I love, is I trust there is a perfection to the way that life is here on earth.
Now hold on a second, though. It seems like you won't let it be a mystery. It seems like this is where we agree. I agree. Like when you describe God, I want to say, so it's the known unknown, right? It's the thing that we know must be there, but that we don't know what it is or understand it, and we may never even be able to understand it. But I don't anthropomorphize it. I don't um, assume that it has a mind. Um, and in perfection, it's not. It's like a struggle against entropy.
Hmm. What if that's its purpose?
I it seems that it's inherent, so then I would accept that as a purpose. I, if we don't presume agency or a why, I would say the universe's purpose is to experience itself subjectively.
That's what I've come to that conclusion. And where my view of perfection is the utility. We may not realize the utility of purpose for things, but I trust that there is a perfection to the unfoldment of time because it
Why?
keeps happening.
Give me a low hanging fruit example.
Well, from what we can tell, days continue to happen, seasons continue to change, and through the tracking and progression of change, we calculate that time continues, right?
Yeah, 13 trillion years is kind of godly.
It's the human mind. We individually scale is hard for us to wrap our mind around it. I mean, in today's news, right, we're talking about $1 trillion. That's like a dozen zeros, is that right?
This is where my skepticism enters in,
Which part?
because now I'm back to this is my monkey brained perception of how perfect and
Okay.
eternal God
Yes.
and the universe is. If I could zoom out, to be more like God, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Right. You do, though, within you, you have the power of mind and imagination to transport your perception into a different perspective. And
Yes, at least subjectively, yes.
and that's yes, and that is actually that practice of using the imagination to do that. That's how we try different ideas on, and that's how we can learn without the actual physical trial and error. It's an amazing gift. And so the gift of mind, I started breaking these ideas for myself. I mean, I'm not sure on the how to be accurate with the order because it seems like a lot of things shifted in 2018 for me all at the same time. Um, but I sought to, well, here, I sought to know God, I sought to become greater, and then everything started falling apart. So all of
Yeah.
my roles as a dad, a leader, worker, they all disappeared. So now I'm like, all right, now what? Who are you? Why are you here? What is your purpose? What makes you you, Jack? And if you're going to move forward, what are you going to do? So opportunity and circumstances brought me to do a lot of inner reflection. And to learn me, I studied others. I learned from other people. I learned from philosophers. I learned from scientists. I learned from nature. And that's when I discovered, Denizen, that's what we're here for. I don't think I'm alone. when we get on the right path and we start learning the things we love, man, it's an adventure and it's fun.
I like introspection as a personal meaning for life. At least one of the primary ones. If I, I think you could have more than one. But I feel like it was my choice just as much as anybody else who claims free will exists would say anything is your choice.
Yes and no. We are responsible for our choices. However, our choice is a selection from what's available.
For
And
sure.
this is where I've been practicing forgiveness with others, because I believe people, while there are other ways there are other ways available for people to react or respond. They're responding or reacting based on their level of awareness, their understanding.
Right.
So just because I see different solutions doesn't mean they do. And this is what I realized is true for me. We're all in this together. People have their blind spots. I want to help Trump and Musk realize their blind spots. Hey, let's welcome Frank Monday too.
Yeah, what up, Frank?
How you doing, brother? If he's there.
Nice cane.
Can't see it. My
You're muted, by the way, Frank, just in case.
There he is. Maybe not.
Unmuted and muted again.
Well, it looks like he's there, and when he's free, there he is.
He's trying to break in from the other side. I feel like this happened in Interstellar when Matthew McConaughey was trying to talk to his granddaughter.
Yeah, Frank, you do sound like you're in another dimension. Or
Another dimension.
Another galaxy, perhaps.
Intergalactic, planetary, intergalactic. Oh, that was clear. Say it again.
You came in for a moment, Frank. And not because Frank showed, but I'm actually wondering, we're over 2 hours. It is Sunday though, too, so I'm still figuring me out. Actually, I'd love to brainstorm some more. I'm good with hanging out a little more, Denizen. You good with it?
Oh yeah, where we were going there, that was my bread and butter.
Beautiful. Well, let's continue
Still
this.
trying to. I still believe that at the end of the corridor is all of us agreeing, which is just seems so strange and impossible, especially to the naysayers. But
the thought that just came up, the next best thing to us all agreeing is just simply setting aside the conflicts and disagreements.
Sure.
If they can still exist and we can still get along, well, we can still accomplish where, golly geez.
Is that what agree to disagree means? Because
yeah,
I don't think we have to think the same exact thing in order to agree.
Right. It's more helpful if we can, because truly with the same understandings, the same page, there's a synergy, right? We're energy and information nodes. Last time I said noids, but information nodes is more appropriate. And we're in forms of energy. And as we go through the day, we're bodily forms of energy, emotional, mental energy. So we're this body of energy that goes through the day, interacting with the other forms and energies of the day. And with energies, right? From science, studying waves and frequencies. When energies and frequencies come together, they can harmonize or they can distort. distort, creating patterns of interruption and chaos and unpleasantness. But when energies come together and they harmonize, there's an increase in power. It's a multiplication of power from what the individual energy first brought.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for us. If we unite, when we unite, when people unite, when we get past the narratives that keep us all divided, and we realize maybe the differences don't make as big of a difference as I thought, we can create peace on earth. And seriously, our generation can lead the future into new directions. That's what my prayer is.
This is gonna take a long time, though, man.
How
I know
so?
we disagree on that, but
I think it'll be rapid.
I think it'll be rapid in comparison, but that's still not tomorrow, not next Tuesday.
Oh, dude, I set a personal deadline before Father's Day. So we got to get this shit done. Hey, welcome,
I
Mr.
like the
Pie.
attitude. I like it.
Welcome,
Yo,
Mr.
what up,
Pie.
Pie?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well.
I hope you are, man.
Nice pants, man.
This crazy adventure, online
El
and
Perro.
off. Welcome, brother El Perro. How you doing, my friend?
Greetings, brother. Greetings. And not to dismiss what you said, Jack, but I agree with Dennis. And though it might seem like it's only a short time, it's going to take some time. This didn't happen overnight. It's not going to end overnight. And I understand your personal goal, and that's what I'm relative to, because my own personal goal, as far as what I'm doing, it's going to take me at least another year. And I'm just now,
same.
and I'm just now, after almost 10 years of researching, finally getting ready to start the starting steps of doing that correction that I'm always talking about. But again, I admit on my own personal level, that's even going to take 1 year. What's it going to take on a world level to do that correction? That's the
I'm
problem.
thinking
And
18 months for me.
and again, I understand your personal perspective for yourself. Like I said, you and your goals. That's great, and I agree with it, and I promote you for that. And I have hope and faith that you can do that. But at the same time, we have to be reasonable. It's that expectation that when you get to that time that you set for yourself, Jack, do you count yourself as a failure, or was the attempt a failure and you try again, or continue your
I don't
efforts?
think he's gonna quit just because.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And so I
that's,
think exactly. And I think there's going to come a day that Jack will recognize that it's not as immediate as he thinks or wants.
well,
But at the
unless
same
he's
time,
successful, we'll have
yeah,
to see.
exactly. At the same time, I do hope he does, because that's what we need. We need that kind of stuff so people can see that it is repeatable in their lifetime. I'm not dismissing that. I'm just not willing to dismiss the expectation part that if it falls apart, then what's the next step? Are you going to continue to say that it is readily available, or are you going to have to admit that, okay, well, I do have to extend some time, so maybe it's not quite as readily as I thought? And that's the acceptance of the events in our life to be able to change ourselves. Again, not to continue to try to force change upon everybody else, but again, that personal aspect of resetting that goal. That's all it is.
I have a. Can I say something?
Please.
Um, there's this quote that we've been saying for a while, like, get out of your imagination, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think we should get into our imagination, because that's where new things prosper. That's how we imagine new things, like things that are not possible, things that we if we didn't have the imagination, whether it's real or not, if we didn't have that vision of what could be, then we wouldn't be pushing ourselves to be a further in this realm and who and what we are. What are your thoughts, Jack?
He agrees.
Yes, exactly that. The imagination is an incredible gift and a tool for destruction. Both things are true. But when we learn how to master our mind, because the mind, it's through the power of imagination that we can understand greater things. We can, like mentioned earlier with Denizen, through the power of imagination, you imagine the perspective of another. You place yourself into their experience mentally and you can try it on. So we can save ourselves pain and sorrow through the power of imagination, but it can also be crippling. And here's something I want to point out sincerely. I love what you're saying. You're being practical and realistic, right? Be prepared, Jack. It may not be as sudden as you want. And I understand that. I'm prepared internally, mentally, emotionally. I'm prepared to accept whatever it takes. However long, whatever the results are, I understand. But brothers and sisters, I've been studying and I know for a fact that miracles happen like that. Miraculous transformations, miraculous opportunities, miraculous changes happen. It starts through a thought and an idea. And I got ideas and thoughts to share. What are your thoughts, Opera? I thought you were hopping in, but
I would like to.
please.
So in my imagination, I'm able to imagine across a spectrum of possible ideas.
Yes.
And then I also use my imagination to game theorize the probabilities based upon the potential paths and the available evidence for each given scenario.
Something's happening with your audio. Sorry to interrupt, but you faded away there for a minute. I'm not sure what happened.
It's a piece of crap, Mike, if it does it every
You're
once in a while.
you're solid now. So I'm sorry, not to take you from your thought. You were saying
What was the last thing that was clear?
it was some of your doubts. That's what I was picking up, I think.
Oh yeah, on the using my imagination, I'm able to create like a plateau of possibilities. I'm able to theorize on the probability of those possibilities based upon the information that I have. And that's what tells me it's going to take the human species quite some time uh, to reach these goals you're talking about. And if time and matter are related, then the only way you get a miracle is if we increase the intensity of the hardship and the event that is the catalyst for this type of change. So you either need the stew, we're either slow cooking or we're frying.
I
If
think
there
it's
is no
happening,
struggle, there is no progress.
Denizen. I
Can
actually
I?
think.
Can I? No, go
Go ahead.
ahead, Jack.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Pi.
So I want to like share an experience. So like my entire life is like Jackson, maybe like he's it's been flipped upside down. We've You move on to something else. For me, I don't want to be a cog in the system, this and that, but I had this new job and I got a little humbled this week because whether these people know or oblivious to what's going on in this world, like what we want to call the truth community. I was just around a bunch of like men and people that just kind of got shit done. They're disciplined, And it was kind of refreshing to see a bunch of people, whether they know what this reality is or this realm is, how good-hearted, humble, and reliable. Like there's not a lot of reliable people in this world. Like there's some people that just don't show up and they just kind of do whatever. And I know when when I was losing my business, at some point I just I was lacking self-discipline with myself, or I wasn't pushing myself to what the man I could be, right? So even though I thought I was like high and mighty and I know more than the peasants or the people that don't get it, and I see the world in a different spectrum, being around these people that just doing some shit to just take care of their family and their bills and their shit, it was pretty refreshing to me. And it kind of humbled me because I'm like, sometimes I feel kind of arrogant. Like I feel like I know more than other people, or I have some idea of this world and I figured it out. And sometimes, maybe it's the ignorance is bliss argument for those people, but I don't know. I felt very inspired this week. For people
Something
that,
just happened to your audio, Mr. Pi.
anyways, I'm done.
You were
It's
coming through
pretty
clear,
choppy.
and then something just switched. I missed some of that too, so I'm sorry to interrupt the flow, and I missed. They're unmuted. Sorry to interrupt, and I had stepped away, so I kind of missed where the conversation was going. But what I've learned, there's a reason for all things. There's a reason we are today. Through the power of mind, reasoning, we get to define and discover and create meaning while we're here. Many people have been conditioned, especially in the American way, that the meaning of life is to survive. You're only here to survive and procreate, multiply. Well, there's more to life than that. there's a lot of aspects to life. Life is a dynamic process that we get to be a part of. It took me many years to find gratitude again for this life we're living, but sincerely, I feel, well, here, thank you for your patience, guys. But back to my story earlier today, our friend Charles, right? Not just him, several people chose to reach out to me through text, right? Written communication to insult me and criticize me. So I'm dealing with craziness all around me. And seriously, we live in an insane world. You want evidence? Look at Donald Trump, Elon Musk. Those people are powerful. That's nuts. And it was by voluntary choice. This is the lesson too, guys. We have hell on earth. I've said that before. We have hell on earth as a consequences of lies and secrets. And the only reason lies and secrets have been enabled is through ignorance and stupidity. But willful ignorance, chosen stupidity, I think that's sinful. And hell is the result. We're being punished because collectively, oh shoot, we're long into this stream, but let me offer this topic and I'll shut up and ask and invite you guys. The connection and what I think we can do work together to redefine. we can improve what humanity means, what it means to be human. And along with that, bringing in morality, so that morality is not a law, it's, you know, it's a choice that's supported and encouraged. You guys thoughts? The reason I bring up humanity and morality is the similarities and patterns in the Bible.
And I have to agree. You know, this is one of the things that I talk about is when we don't develop the spirituality in our children by teaching them and bringing them up in the ways of the Lord, that's when they falter. Well, that's because we've already faltered and we don't teach them the right way. So the humanity is something that is instilled through us if we take our responsibility as the steward for those children, those trustees for those children as children of God, rather than subjecting them to a public education indoctrination where they're going to get the dogma, not just from their separate teachers, but from all the different students that come from different backgrounds. And it's nothing but confusion. Whereas if you, again, raise a child up in one way and he sees the way as a good way, he won't falter despite all the other dogmas and other realities that are presented to him. He won't question himself. He knows himself. He doesn't need to know them.
Is there a spirituality outside of the Lord?
Well, that's what we're talking about, is the development of the recognition of a spirituality, that moral sense, that humanity, rather than acting like other heathens and other animals in this bullying and fighting in school, while the teachers stand back and watch, or are the ones that are perpetrating the abuse themselves.
Let's say I agree with you. Can we have spirituality outside of Christianity, God, Jesus, the way of the Lord, etc.?
It's got to be instilled by your moms and dads. We pay for our father's sins, and the sin is we become manual, though our existence is in fact, however you want to explain it, spiritual. I call it comes from a source of life that is obvious and doesn't need to be known precisely, because it has inherent realities that are objectively observable by all. Even the insane will understand that if there's a man standing there pointing a gun at them, that gun will hurt them. There's objective reality.
I don't think you answered the question Denizen was asking, but I get it. And is there spirituality beyond religion? Yes, there most certainly is. Now, for myself, okay, think how I'm thinking this through, right? Because the spirit, what El Perro's saying, golly geez, he described me. I made so many fucking mistakes, and I'd give anything to have a chance to try and bring healing, but I'm helpless. I gotta wait. It's all in God's hands. I didn't raise my son with an education on spirituality, emotional intelligence. Those things were not in my mind, right? And I had turned away from religion, so I didn't try to diminish religion, and I recommended that he explore faith and stuff as times came, but God wasn't in our life. I tried to teach morality though, but the thing is, yeah.
So in the sense that morality and the ethics that we're talking about, that humanity, those are all extensions of that quote spirituality, which I agree with you, Jack. It does exist. It's just, I'm saying objectively, there are truths that we can see that show that reality of the spirit, but it's only subjective to our own view of what that spirituality is and how it comes into our lives. you know, and what it is. Is it good or bad? Because spirit is good and bad. Just saying. So it comes to that spiritual awakening. Okay, so while you admit that you weren't really close to God, you knew there was something there almost all of your life. You just didn't pay attention to it. You were subjecting yourself to the morals and ethics, which is just a different principle concept of the same thing. So once you had your spiritual awakening, you recognize that as the spiritual essence is embedded in your morals and ethics on how you treat other people. So it's a matter of natural behavior of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. You don't want your child going out bullying other children. So you don't allow them to be in a group of children with different dogmatic views, bullying other children because they learn to bully. You teach them up in the ways of the Lord, not to do so by teaching them yourself. Otherwise, they will never learn that. Well, I shouldn't say never. I shouldn't say never. They're, you know, that Gentile that has the law or does in their nature what the law says without knowing it. There are people that know it's not right to bully. I'm just saying that in that environment, they will tend to be led to be, it's okay to bully because it's not really hurting. You're just saying stupid stuff about them and stuff.
Right.
But the bullying
Right.
gets to the physical sense.
What I've said this before, that my own path, the life I'm living brought me so much evidence to support the words of Scripture. I can't think of examples, but truly the way I found my joy, my courage, the willingness to continue, it's through faith. And faith is known through love. Think about that connection too, the connection between love and faith. In the absence of faith, you know, there's distrust. And with distrust, there's not love, there's fear. It took me a while to learn how to trust in me. And I could trust in me when I stopped caring about me, right? When I realized I don't matter. What matters is the truth I contain and any good I can offer. That's all that matters. So it's the unseen, it's the spirit of me that has value. Because the spirit of me has, you know, a lot of potential. And that is inside and true for all of us, every one of us. Each day we awaken here on earth, it's another opportunity to live the life of your dreams. And if you're not
We
doing
value potential.
what's that?
We value potential.
Well, back to that, you brought that up earlier, and I don't know if you brought up the idea of probabilities. My limited awareness causes me to think of limited probabilities, right? And I'm convinced, based on the diversity of nature, the diversity of lives that are being lived and have been lived, anything is possible. Truly, anything is possible. My mind is just limited based on what I've learned or what I've chosen to believe. So I think that this field that we live in, some have called it the space-time fabric, the energetic qualium from which the universe comes forth. It's a field of infinite possibilities. And I think based on vibration, we tune into this reality through our mind, and it's based upon a particular energetic vibration. But the subtleties and the dynamics of this field that we exist within, I mean, even in the human body, if you take in the general science you've learned, right, about the cells and the way proteins and different tissues are in the body, the complexity of life we've lost sight of that. We've become confused by what we've learned. But every day we awaken has, it starts with unlimited possibilities, and then we awaken to who we are and where we are, and then our possibilities start to limit, you know. But there's still vast probabilities every day. What I finally surrendered myself to, because I've been practicing this being present, escaping the past, because dude, it gets me sad. Escaping the future, because that can be kind of scary, and just being present. I've been practicing that. And the way to do that is through surrender and faith. There was more to
Yeah,
that.
this is,
Took us off.
I just flew out of the back of the safari truck. We were all experiencing the same, trees and grass and animals and even the colors and everything that you described. I'm like, yeah, man, praise God, look at the zebras and shit. So
Right.
I flew right off the back of the truck when you just said faith. That's,
Boom.
you guys are
Ask
driving off without me in the truck, and I'm like, hey.
Denizen. Okay, you're so close. You are so close. Because you're denying yourself faith. In the absence of faith, you got to accept responsibility. Faith exists. Where are you? So you're pushing faith away, finding reasons not to have faith. And that's common. It's what our world has taught us to do. Because if you're not afraid and worried, then maybe you're not paying attention. But it's okay to pay attention, and it's okay to see bad things on the horizon. It's okay to even be uncomfortable and dealing with some real unpleasant situations. Each of us gives ourselves permission. How much are you willing to surrender and relax? That's the goal.
And I think,
I
go ahead.
I feel like I don't have faith, like I don't possess it. And
Well,
if I would try to steel man it from your perspective, like what I hear people have it say it is, then I would say I have faith these fucking monkeys is gonna take 1,000 years before they end wars.
I see faith more as an introspective thing, like me trying to ride a bike. Now, even though I may not be able to ride it like the neighbor does, doing all the flips and jumps and everything, I have faith that if I wanted to, I could. This is the imagination we were talking about earlier. Even though it's observable in your own mind, it's an imagination because you don't have that firsthand experience. I have faith that one day I can do that. But in that faith, I have to be able to get on that bike and learn how to ride it first. And I'm going to fall. So the faith comes more to my being able to take up a challenge, that responsibility of getting on the bike and going through it despite the pains or rewards, because they come together.
How do I get on the bus that says Jesus Town?
Here you go. Find a way that you can accept. That's the key. You got to find what excuse or reason will work for you. And what I suggest to you, you're much like me. You have faith. You have faith in what might be less valuable things. You might have faith in things that aren't good for you. And if that's the case, get rid of them. You have the power and the choice.
So I'll use the bicycle analogy. I would submit to you that I use reason to believe, to have confidence that I can ride the bike even before I've done it, because I've observed, Tina and Jack and Joe and Billy on their bicycles, and I've also observed them at school in math class, and I know that they're not that bright or
Right,
capable. So
right.
if
But
they
it's
can ride a fucking bike, I can probably figure it out too.
exactly, and that's and I'll agree with that too, because that gives you a reason to have faith that when you do go to ride that bike, even if you again don't do it the first time, that you still can.
Right.
That's the element of faith is portraying it from them doing it to oneself doing it. So again, it's a self-monitoring thing.
So is faith just a placeholder for confidence?
Yeah.
The two go
Okay.
together.
So all right. So then there's been I've wasted our time a little bit because I should have asked for
Well, no.
definitions.
Yeah, I have confidence that I will learn and grow from the experience, despite any pains or rewards.
To me, faith is believing in something without evidence, but I would say almost what separates it from hope is in spite of evidence. So you
Yeah.
have available evidence to the contrary, but you have faith that you can overcome that. And
Right. And the evidence is that you yourself have no experience. You only have an observation of somebody else experiencing the riding of the bike. So it's not until you ride that bike yourself that it becomes true.
Faith, it's something we grow. I had to grow it in myself, but first I had to find it. And what I found in myself is I did have faith. I did have a good imagination, but I was using my imagination to torment myself with negative thoughts and feelings. And I put my faith in my doubts, right? And my doubts justified my insecurities. My insecurities and doubts justified my inactions. And so I started living this routine of I was in a prison, a mental prison in my comfort zone, and I didn't know I was trapped. God, you asked the question, how do you get on that Jesus train? And I'm honest when I say find the way that works for you, but recognize the benefits. The benefits, in my mind, I believe the Bible and all the many translations, despite all the misunderstandings. Oh, back to faith, because this ties in together as well, kind of with what El Perro said. You can see the best, right, in your imagination, and so you recognize that. And then, like you said, you see the worst, but you still focus on the best. I just did that. Does faith always work? Nope. So could I have done different things to avoid moving out of the house the way that I did? Yes. Yes, I could have. But I walked forward with that, with the confidence and the faith that I was on the right path. Well, in order to do that, here's the point. In order to do that, I had to prepare myself. Am I prepared for the worst case scenario? You better believe I was. I was prepared for the worst and could see the best, and
what
it
is the
hasn't
worst
worked out
case
yet.
in this
What's that?
example? What would the worst case be in that example?
Well, for me, the worst case was not making any connections in Spokane and getting evicted out of the home. That was my worst case. Well, and
That
then,
ultimately happened.
and that, yeah, and that did. And the worst case was, well, see, this is part of my, maybe this is self-sabotage. Maybe this is responsible. I started playing in my mind worst case scenarios and wondering, what am I willing to accept? What level is my point where, nope, you're going to go back and find a different route? Well, I believe in this path I'm on, and I know how it looks on the outside, but I know God's with me. God's got me here in Baltimore, Maryland, about an hour and a half from the capital for a reason.
See, I feel like I feel this very similar to you. I just don't. Nobody's in the car with me. You know, God. Yeah.
There, well, here's what I found, and in my mind, how I, again, I resisted a lot of the stuff from the Bible, but actually part of what took me around to the Bible was when I was sitting in meditation and considering my life and what I was experiencing with others. Words came through me into my mind that were not a part of my vocabulary, such as contrition and repentance. I'd heard of repentance before, I've heard of contrition before maybe, but I had no concept of, never really given it thought.
Contemplation of the Bible, or while reading it, or
contemplating life.
Oh, okay.
Contemplating life brought those words up into my mind.
I got you. And now I see the synchronicity now in the Bible too, when you say that.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, I looked up the words and saw that, yeah, these are the correct words. And this is part of what helped me realize is that the story we tell ourselves, it's dependent. It was pointed out, right? The story we tell ourselves and the life we live, it's greatly influenced by our vocabulary. Any field of specialization in science, religion, economics, whatever, even the labor trades, there's a different vocabulary that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And so that's where I started seeing too, that vocabulary, the language actually creates a lot of our identity and who we are. The two are tied together. I started in my path to wonder, right? I saw Jesus as, initially I accepted him as historical, and that his wisdom, you know, it made sense. Treat each other right. it made sense to me. So I thought, well, there's the example, but I bought into there's only Jesus. No one else can know what he knows. And I thought, I don't know what he knows. I don't know what he knew. I don't know what he felt. I can imagine that the beatings and shit probably sucked pretty bad, but somehow he was prepared for that. And so I started thinking, well, if I want to be like Jesus, well, I got to have a mind like him. What is in his mind? Everything. Apparently he knows what God knows, and I don't know what God knows. So I set out to find, what do I know? What can I know? And that's where I started discovering not only the boundaries of my ignorance, but I started discovering how much is available to learn. Praise God. Go ahead,
Jack,
guys.
is my microphone working?
Yes, you sound much better now, Frank. Welcome back.
Fantastic. Good to see all of you. Good to see you, Denizen, El Perro, Mr. Pie. I think you're right, Jack, and I think Jesus is a little closer to us than sometimes that's not my static. I think that's Mr. Pie.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I think Jesus is closer to us than sometimes we realize, because I believe in scripture it says that even Jesus didn't know like the way that God is going to play out the end game. And I think that's important to remember, because sometimes we feel like we can't see so far into the future, and it's like, well, yeah, not necessarily could he either, you know, and that he had to rely on faith as well. And to elaborate just a moment on faith, I think that we all have a lot of faith each day, and we don't necessarily realize it. Like when I hit the button on the elevator, I got faith that the German engineers put that thing together correctly. But I wanted to kind of swing back around to some of the ideas that Denizen had brought forward, because I think he's posing some really good points and conundrums. And one of those is, how do we approach this thing with like a new universal morality? And I think the Universal Bill of Human Rights, or it's called the Universal Human Rights or whatever, I think that's a good foundation starting point. But it's like, how do we address the godless with the idea of God? And how do we address the immoral with the idea of a universal morality? And how do we address maybe the scientific materialists with the idea of spiritual cultivation? And so he's presenting an angle, and some of us might be overlooking it to some extent, but that the doctrine and dogma can't rule over us per se. And I know you're on this path. That's why I think it's a really good question to put to you. But like, even with the idea of love and living without fear, the intellectual will just tear this apart. And so it's like, he's presenting us with a challenge of how do we present and couch these ideas in a language that can appeal. I'm not going to say it can appeal to everyone, but that can service most in a more universal fashion. So I think it's a really.
I think you broke off there, but it is a really good question.
Good.
Yeah, and for me, faith again
breaking.
is believing in something despite the available evidence. So that's how I feel like I can use the elevator without faith. I can use reason to assume that, because elevator accidents are so rare, that there's a limited amount of safety and engineering that goes behind it. And then being gifted with a mind that's capable of understanding how an elevator works also helps. They're built pretty safely, actually. And honestly, given all that, I would still probably prefer to use the stairs, especially intellectually, right? If we're using metaphors. So I am averse to faith.
Well, let me point out to you, faith is there. It's a gift that we've been graced with. It's there, and you have faith in your reasoning. That's what I heard you pointing at. It may not necessarily be faith in the elevator, but you trust in your reasoning and what you've learned. But aside from,
I wouldn't if it were despite the available evidence, though. I would feel crazy, and I would be desperately seeking outward for answers, right?
That's what I did. I sought answers because my world fell apart. But it comes back, what Frank was saying, I think was a good question. It's the question, and you're asking, Denizen. It's exactly the question I've been dealing with internally and externally. How do I communicate these ideas effectively?
Yeah, and I'm trying to bridge the gap to my people. That was me in the spirit of, how can I help Jack? How can I help Jack's message? How can I help all of us who agree with Jack? Because we all kind of have the same message. And then the faith thing was more of like me trying to communicate my own personal feelings.
There's no separation from you and your ideas and your activity, and it's all coming together. These are great questions, and I really do appreciate it, because we're all dealing with this. We're trying to figure out what is real and what is true. And Denizen, what I would suggest, where I was going for myself, I found an acceptance of a divine intelligence that's behind nature, because I started seeing like sciences, the academic arena of all the various different sciences of physics and chemistry and biology and all of these things. Well, they're studying patterns of things that are already there, right? So the sciences are just explaining nature in ways that make sense to people.
I have a
Sure.
I have a question. I saw this I saw this thing on, it's like one of those shorts or whatever, but there was a sea lion trying to jump up on a boat. These orcas were trying to kill, to feed off the sea lion. And in the comments, they were saying, should you intervene and let nature take its course? But my argument was, we are part of nature. We're mammals. If we're there in that moment, we have the capacity to do something to save a life. But the other argument was, well, the orcas didn't get to eat, so you're depriving them of food. Like, I don't think like one seal or one sea lion is not going to deprive an orca of food, but to deny that we're not mammals or animals and are part of nature, we are nature. Everyone thinks that like we're above nature. We are in it. And so these arguments that I see that people say we're interfering with nature, like we're all in it. We just have, I guess we have disagreements on what's moral or what's not. What are your opinions on that?
Well, it's narratives, beliefs, and definitions. That's what divides people. To where I was going with the evidence of God or the acceptance of God, for me, faith is an experience. I don't know if it's something you can teach, but faith it's obtained through ideas. And what has helped me find a relationship with God was I started allowing myself some doubts in myself and trust that there was more I didn't know. And the more I allowed that there was more about God I didn't know, well, then it opened me up to looking, right? And for myself, the first definitions I found that worked for me, and I'm telling you, if you think about these thoughts, it's true. God is the truth. It's the truth that I know and the truth beyond what I know. But God is the truth. And the image of Jesus, there's so many words that support, even today's thumbnail. There's so many words that point to love. And so if you take the idea that Jesus is love, who works for and to serve the Father of truth, when I started looking at the Bible, the words in the Bible like that, those concepts made sense to me. The scriptures, the pieces started falling into place for me.
Hey, Jack, I'm
Yeah.
out. Be blessed. Thanks for having me up. Great conversation today. I think it's a good
Much
topic.
love.
See you next
Amen.
time.
Blessings and thank you, Alpero.
Peace.
So my question, Jack, is would you have saved the seal or let it?
If
Or
I
not?
have the opportunity to save and protect life, that's the choice I make. And I think
Yeah.
that's where you were leaning at that as well. In
Well,
that,
yeah. So I had an argument in the comments because someone said we shouldn't interfere with nature, and I'm like, we are nature. We're part of nature. So, what are
yeah,
the odds? What are the odds of a sea lion trying to hop on your boat while the orcas are there? That, to me, that's divine intervention. Like,
it's the right timing. It's
yeah.
a
So
it's matter of bringing a bunch of variables together for the event and experience to happen. And so the people there placed with that choice, they were given a great opportunity, and it looks like by sharing it, it gets conversations going. There's a perfect happening that's going on from the words you said, Mr. Pi. I agree. God is nature. It's in nature. And so nature is what is real, and we're a part of nature. We're a part of what is real, unless we live in pretend. And that's where we've been living. Collectively, the world's been living in pretend. This make-believe world where debts and where bills are sent to people every day, and people go to work and pay those bills, and there's not a reason for it. Hey, this has been a great show. Denizen, thank you, sincerely. Do you have any thoughts on recent or thoughts you want to unfold before we wrap up?
I'm not sure to make sense, but like I had the image in my mind of you being shot at with the arrow, and then what does that mean if the arrow strikes you? I'm not sure how that relates to what you were saying. Can you repeat what you were saying?
About nature being what's real, and we are a part of nature and what's real unless we live in pretend. That part?
No, I don't think it was that part. Was that the last thing that you said?
I think it was.
What did you say right before that?
Oh, good heavens. Now you're pressing my memory banks, man. That was a long time ago, dude. I'd have to rewind, honestly. Well, no. Let me pause and see.
The question was ultimately, would you save the seal?
Yes.
My initial thought was I would identify with the seal, but that once the seal was out of danger, that it would ultimately be foolish.
It would be
It,
what?
it would ultimately be foolish. He could, like, I would want the seal to be my friend, but he couldn't even understand what I did for him. Or maybe
No.
he would, and we would be lifelong buddies, and I'm just being obtuse.
Okay, so I'm playing this out. I love this, man. Okay, so there is that possibility that it becomes a lifelong friend and a buddy that, becomes a part of the rest of your story, or not. Would you still be, would you be willing to do the effort and intervene and then just walk away?
Well, here's the thing. I saw the video.
Oh, did you?
So,
Okay.
yeah, first of all, I can't answer that. I'd be lying if I said I knew what I would do. But my
All right, fair.
presumption is based upon I have put myself to the test on purpose. I've tested myself and I put myself in situations where I knew others and the circumstances would test me, right? I did these things intentionally as a man. And based upon that, I would say if the seal jumped in the boat, um, my fight or flight is usually fight, but in this case, it would be somewhat freeze. And so long as I felt like the seal and I had an agreement, which is that's your side of the boat. I'm not going to interfere with the seal, really, honestly, at this point. That doesn't serve my purpose. So I see myself, regardless of the moral implications, which may not even occur to me. I may be disinterested in Mr. Pie's poignant question because ultimately I just want to get to shore in one piece, right? So in my initial assessment, based upon the video, I saw it that he was talking about. Me and this seal have the same agenda, right? So there's a spirit of cooperation there. beyond language and species barrier. But much like when the scorpion, stings the frog, at some point I do not truly understand the nature of what it means to be a seal. And at some point I feel like there's the potential for me to be made the fool. Does that make sense?
It does. And what came to my mind is it's most important for you to know how to be you. You don't have to understand the seal. You don't have to understand the sea lion. But you got to understand what you might want. And that's an interesting hypothetical. And an interesting scenario. For yourself, though, Denizen, I'd encourage you. It might, you mentioned that you'll kind of challenge yourself. You'll lean into things and test yourself. Try on. See what it might feel like to have a deep faith and a deep trust in something you don't really understand. Because you already do.
I feel like I did that with the truth for many years, and I'm coming out the other side of a crisis of faith when it comes to truth, especially objective truth. And so,
Denizen, hello. It's kind of obvious, I think. That's why our paths crossed. I'm here to help you grow and restore and redirect your faith so that you live the life of your dreams. Hey, welcome back, Mr. Pi.
Thank you.
I was starting to wrap up, but there was another comment that I wanted to address because Denizen, you and El Perro shared your doubts and that change may take time. And while I accept that, right, I'm prepared for that. I know that miracles can happen. And as it was prophesied, I can logically see how a day of judgment could come forth throughout our world society. And when that day of judgment comes forth, it may not be the way that people think, because someone brought up earlier that the end time, the signs would be more war and stuff. And I suggest it's happening. We just happen to be amongst those who are blessed. So we've been called to be who we are. And it's time for us to consciously choose who we become. And I want to become a man who helps bring peace to the world wherever I go.
I'm more dedicated to my own peace, and I don't know if that's mere selfishness or if it's a prerequisite for anything external or greater than me. And I am really digging withdrawing from this fucked up society and world. Like, people can call it what they want: cope, cop out, burn out, whatever they want. Like, the more, and since I remember going to Catholic church as like a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, uh, raised atheist, culturally Catholic, going to church just for the positive experience, being impervious to the indoctrination because I'm a militant atheist at this point, even as a child. I'm raised that way from birth to be.
Something happened to your audio.
Oh, yeah, it's just shitty wireless.
I think it's coming back. Yeah.
It fades. It goes in and out. But I remember being at church and finding the parts of the Bible that were my favorite. One that stuck with me my whole life is the concept of being in the world but not of it. And that's even how like God or Jesus or whatever will recognize you because the world hates you.
How would you define that? in the world but not of it. Like what's that mean to you?
Well, both the the mere stating of it means that there has to be truth and or importance in both. And I
But
definitely don't feel of this world. I feel in contradiction with almost everything I experience.
okay, but I
Uh,
mean like you're in this world, so you're saying you're not from this world? Like when you say you're in this world but not of it, th- this quote always like perplexes me. And I've even looked it up on Google, and I'm just like, what the fuck does that mean? Like we're in this world but not of it.
And
Like
I
well,
does that
there's
mean
my
we're like from like we're an alien race or something? Like I mean, what does that mean to
there's
you?
my personal interpretation, and then there's the way Jesus breaks it down in the Bible.
Okay,
I'm
well,
giving you my personal interpretation.
okay,
and
explain it to me, please.
it's
Uh, Go ahead.
Or both of you. I just want to hear your
Yeah,
interpretation.
yeah, and I don't mind if Jack goes first.
thank thank you. It's actually what my life has shown me. I'm here physically, right? I haven't figured out how to escape the 3D part of this life, but I was no longer, I had no attachments. Nobody would claim me. So I was in the world, but not of the world. And I've been trying to find a way back in for a while. That's why I'm online.
Do you
That's a
think?
lot closer to how Jesus broke it down, by the way.
Okay, Dennison, what's your interpretation of it?
I agree with Jack. That's why I like that part of the Bible. Is I dig Jesus's vibe, in my opinion, but at the same time, it means there's a certain importance of being in the world too. So you can't completely separate yourself from it. You just can't let it be the determination of who you are or how you manifest in that world. And that takes whatever ability or willpower or discipline that people believe that they have. That's the only real willpower you have.
So, what is the realization that you have of yourself? Like, so let's say that the Almighty or the whole the consciousness of this world, and they say that we are expressions of God, like trying to interpret it himself, and a bunch of like a Jack Talcott, a Dennison, a Jeff, because this higher consciousness, that's why we have to have the ego, because if you didn't have the ego, then you wouldn't be Jack Talcott. So if you lose your ego, then you're just, maybe that's the ultimate, like maybe you find yourself the most when you lose your entire ego, and then you're back one with self, with the higher power.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I
Pi.
would agree with that.
This is what many people will call the dark night of the soul. I experienced it. I got to experience losing everything I thought was important and then still continue, right? So, a reset of values. And what I considered earlier today, I made a note somewhere. Our bodies, who we are, our bodies are vessels for goodness to come forth. But for the goodness to come forth, we've got to take our ego, take all of our talents and all of our skills and desires, and give it to God so that God uses, love uses us. Love uses us for goodness.
Are
That's the
either
goal.
are either one of you familiar with Kali at all? Kali
With
Ma?
I couldn't catch that. Kali Ma, is that what you said?
Yeah, Kali or Kali Ma,
Is that the ancient Hindu
goddess of
god Kali?
destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I called upon her to destroy me and rebuild me, and I embraced the idea of the concept in the moment, regardless of whether or not I believed in, the supernatural or the miraculous. Does that make sense?
Not completely. You opened your mind to possibilities, and you invited the renewing of you. Is that what I caught? I
Yeah,
distracted
but the
myself to chat
the
too.
way the way Kali renews you though is to obliterate you, to completely destroy your life. You know, that's her gag.
These are the same, actually. See, there's value in tradition. There's patterns in the religions for a reason. The idea of Kali bringing the destruction for the renewal. So a lot of the tribal customs will have this day of maturity, right? I don't remember the term, but where you go through a test in order to become greater. America, we don't have that. We go fill out of some forms and maybe take a driver's test. And but
Yeah, I
here,
wanted some old school shit, Jack. So
but
I called upon Kalima. I made the
good.
prayer like I asked her, and I
I
repeated
didn't.
her name 3 times in order to, you know, complete
So
the mantra.
so I
And I
heard
feel
the.
like good.
I interrupted. Please continue. You
Uh, I
feel
I
that?
fe- um well, certainly my life got exploded. That definitely happened, and I feel like every time I rebuild myself and I lose sight of my humility, she knocks on that door again, and it's like, you know,
Yes. I don't know the names. For me, all the names from the various religions, they're pointing at an archetype, at an image, at a concept, right? Or a quality of it. And the message behind in the Bible too, about you must die to be to live. That's what that's talking about too, is that internal killing that ego part, knocking the pride down. And but here the point I left out is I think the intention through what Jesus taught is it's the voluntary seeking, kind of like what you did. You sought the higher powers to come in. You had a name going to the past and the ancient, but in the end, the concept, you're asking for the higher intelligence to come in and help transform you. And it sounds like some things happened. It may have
yeah,
worked.
there was some surrender and submission there, and that the admission that I'm powerless. This was the
Mhm.
also how I was able to reconcile 12 steps from the atheist perspective too. Um, really truly understanding the utility and the importance of the recognition of a higher power. This is frustrating too because it's so little that I have a problem with, like just the word higher. You know what I mean? Like this is where I get into like a pedantic uh, frame of mind. But the import that this is why it's higher in the lesson is because it's the juxtaposition of yourself with that so-called higher power that's important. It's that you are in a position of being in surrender and submission to that which is out of your control. And I don't have to presume any higher power for that. I am totally cool with accepting that on face value, right? So I can, that's where I can complete that step, so to speak, in the 12 steps, even though I don't have faith or believe in a entity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. but it doesn't prevent you from going farther either. Because you've come to the right conclusion. Your faith in your reasoning is strong. and it's wise. You've got a strong, solid mind. So I don't know what to offer to you. I know what has been helpful for me, and I know what others have said they worked for them. I'd encourage you to well, I'm also kind of unclear as well. You identify atheist and you say you resolve the 12 steps without the higher power, but yet you also played around and you found an experience with the energy of Kali.
Potentially, I mean, you know,
Okay, potentially. So that's where that
I don't know what I invited into my life.
all
You know,
right.
my ex girlfriend would tell me it was the mistress herself. You know, and I had literally had an experience where the change in my pocket changed from pennies into nickels and dimes.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know,
So you've had signs and you've had some experiences, but you're
yeah,
still where you are.
yeah. Would my 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 frame of reference and thought would always be that the ritual is more powerful than this non-existent spiritual being, and uh, the pattern seeking of my human brain fills in the rest, and that is far more likely than the supernatural. And
Okay.
also that I would misremember or make a mistake is far more likely. But I do what I will admit to, right? For perhaps for your amusement and even to encourage your faith even further is having an argument in the car on the way home from the temple, uh, and about how I accused my girlfriend of maybe going through my pockets and switching out the pennies for nickels and dimes in order to prove the point, right?
Mm-hmm. Um, I think the freak may have pointed out he described my experience, and it might be similar to you too, Denizen. It is in my I've come to these conclusions, and the words are what they are. I'm convinced in God, and that all that I get to know is by the grace. All that I get to know is by the grace of God and God's goodness through the light of intelligence that has been gifted to me. And I see God as not so much a being, but as a source and power of intelligence and energy. And there was no, besides that one night, right, where I was doing the guided meditation on love. Besides that, letting go and surrendering, I felt that powerful phenomenon and experience. The evidence of God came little by little. I'm being long winded and I didn't mean to do that so long, Denizen, but
So I'm here's what I'm thinking now. If I try to steel man your argument, and I've had this conversation with the freak as well. Um, in the middle ground somewhere, I at the very least tapped into some kind of intelligent energy or organized energy as far as like manifestation is concerned, even if it doesn't have coherent thought. And in my experience, I called it Kali, but it's still the same thing that we're ultimately talking about God at the end of the day. And now, if I were to embrace that experience, perhaps I should seek out that energy again and pose some different questions or ask for some different outcomes.
It's actually where I was going to take us. I'd encourage you, play around even with doubt, but allow what is real to be real. And what are the benefits? What are the benefits of if it's right? Well, here's the logical explanation, Denizen. Cause and effect, right? Cause and effect are intertwined. The two go together. There's no separating the action from the results, right? And so I considered some of the Hermetic ideas. All is mental. Well, it really is. Life is a mental game. It's we win or lose, through the power of our mind. And so I started learning about manifestation, the power of mind, and there's a lot of practical explanations of how ideas become reality. But in the end, when I started looking at me, who am I? I'm memories. I'm memories of me with imaginations of the future, and I perceive the present moment. So I'm only the moment. I'm a thought. I'm a thought and a memory and an imagination who has a physical body. So I started thinking about the idea, if I'm the image of God, I'm a reflection. So perhaps I'm imagined and created through the mind of God. Well, maybe that's where I'll find God too, is through my mind of imagination. And the more I started learning philosophies and different perspectives of God's love, the love that God has for humanity and for the creation that we are, I started spending time in my day imagining God's love and feeling love. There's a bliss and a nirvana that other spiritual devotees have described, and it's addictive, dude. So long story, what I want to offer, give it a try. Ask yourself, what evidence would I need if God were to show me evidence? What would I need to convince me that the deity is here with me and hears me and knows me?
It would answer my prayers, I think.
I lowered my standards. I lowered my standards for what I took as a sign, but it's in line with that comment. I started accepting evidence little by little. And then I
What
started
does that
wondering.
say?
It says, unless he reveals himself outright to you, the evidence for God comes little by little.
Bruh, I mean, I want to quote Hitchens quoting, I think, Lord Byron in this case. I can't remember, but it's like, he gets to the pearly gates. He's posed the question, what if you die and you go to heaven? You were wrong this whole time. There is a God. And, to paraphrase poorly, he says something like, he would appeal to God, but my lord, there just wasn't enough evidence.
Okay.
This is
This
how
is
I operate everywhere else in the world. Go ahead.
that not enough evidence. Okay. In my own path of discovery, I had to realize I'm responsible for where I look. I'm responsible for determining how much evidence do I require? How much investigating do I do? Because until I came honest with myself, I didn't investigate God. Didn't really give it a lot of thought. I convinced myself there wasn't really a lot of value. And, because I saw the results of the people going to church, like, shit, I can just recover from my hangover on Sunday. I don't need to go to church. I started finding reasons, but it wasn't so much as reasons. The two went together. When I started looking in different places from my routines and the old beliefs, I started finding different answers. But it required me to believe that it was worth looking at. It was worth asking. I had to believe that answers were available. And the more I looked, the more I believed. And the more I believed, the more it confirmed, like some of the Bible stuff. Seek
Where
and
did
you
you
shall
look?
find. In the world. This, Denizen, here's another part of my story. This is why I think God is using me. I believe that my past has been in preparation, and I pray it's for the goals I talk about, meeting with the White House and DC. In my path, what I've been doing without when I was no longer of the world, when I was no longer in the world, no longer with a family and friends and routine and all that, I was on a path of learning. I had within myself this insatiable desire to know. And I didn't even know what I wanted to know, but I knew I had to know. And so I started learning. The entertainment went off, no more video games, no more entertainment television. It was just lectures, books, documentaries, learning. And I kept learning, but then I'm also in my mind, it's like, okay, what do I do with what I'm learning? It's how do I apply this? How do I use this? Where do I take this knowledge? And I've been trying and trying, but Denizen, it's possible, like I said, that it could be that God is retelling the story with me. Jesus was the perfect example. It took me a long time, and I was stubborn and I resisted it, but I found my way to his way. And I'm growing in my comfort in following him.
I found my way to Yahweh.
Well, always lead to God. And the point is, Jesus was the perfect example. He did it on his own, him and God. Well, it's been me and God for quite a while, but my knowledge and my faith and everything I've learned, it didn't necessarily come from higher powers, but there were I don't think I kept track, but there was so many times, Denizen, where I'd be meditating and looking at relationships, looking at things in my life or the greater world, and I'd have this aha moment, and I paid attention too. It started as a feeling would come up within me somewhere, and then I'd play, you got to kind of finesse it, and you be gentle with the feeling, and eventually there's words that start to emerge.
Word.
And then the words
I
associated with
experienced
the
that while I
feeling.
was dead, bro. Keep going.
Did you?
Yeah, keep going.
Well, dude, this is what I realized, how amazing our bodies are, and it's this through awareness of the subtleties, through awareness of the subtle energies inside. That's where we really start to know and realize things. So anyway, I would have these realizations in meditation and contemplation, and it would be an aha, click, that makes sense. And I'd feel this excitement and discovery. And there was a couple of times I thought, hey, I might be the first. Dude, there's nothing new under the sun.
Did you ever lose the moment and before the words form?
Yes.
Like you have the feeling and you squeeze it too hard and it comes right out of your hands like sand?
Yep. That's where I realized it's an art, and there's a science to the art. It's a skill.
Yeah, you have to practice.
Yeah. But what happened is I'd have these aha moments, and then through YouTube or other conversations, I would discover other human beings alive today that were teaching what I just learned on my own. So then through others, I would grow in my ability to explain and my ability to understand, and I'd get different, more details and different perspectives to build on. So Denizen, this kind of supports my theory. If this is true, it follows along with the ideas of the novelty theory and just some of the ideas of development. If God is retelling the story, I am an example. I'm the antithesis. I'm the mirror image of both Jesus and Donald Trump. Trump and I are both here and now. I'm the opposite of him in many ways, but he and I are just the same. Same with me and Jesus. I'm opposite of him in many ways, but many ways he and I are the same. And then that applies to me and you. So it makes sense that God would take a random guy and allow him to be a gatherer, tuning in to the collective mind. That's what I've been doing. I've been tuning into the consciousness of those from our past, those in the present time, and all of us do that. I just happen to find the awareness of what's going on. So Denizen, I know how impossible it sounds, but if you can believe that despite your doubts, we have opportunities to change this world, the probabilities and the odds are behind our success, Denizen. All we've got to do is stay honest and walk with love and be fearless. That's it.
I kind of already agree with that. I think you know to the extent which I do.
I know. We're right there. We're right there. Your stubbornness is holding you up, though. I recognize it, right? You are me. I am you. We're both far more than each of us has realized. It took me a while to accept that truth. I'm a lot greater than I used to think. I'd sell myself short constantly. I stopped doing that and more people picked it up. Denizen, there's a reason our paths have crossed. And if you can grow in your faith, grow in your openness to.
I'm gonna try some actual
Please.
Practices.
Please.
Yeah, like I said, I tapped into whatever that was that we're calling Kali, and I'll try the same thing from the but I'm gonna call out to Jesus this time.
Please.
And I'm gonna ask some different questions.
I love it. I encourage you. Please do. Hey, we've been going. This is a long stream for me. I think I should start wrapping up. Final words from you, brother?
Did you listen to that music track I sent you, or read the lyrics?
I don't know if I did.
Discord. At
I'll
your
check.
leisure.
I'll take a look and check it out.
Peace. Have a good day.
Much love to you. Thank you. Thank you sincerely to all of you. If you've been with me for a while, I mean, through this stream, we're running long. Thank you. I hope all who tuned in, I hope you found some value, some encouragement. Really, if you missed the beginning, please go back and check it out. I tried doing some new tools and some new visuals. Try bringing some more clarity to these ideas I'm bringing. Because truly, brothers and sisters, accepting simplicity from life, follow this thought process for yourself. Where is simplicity found? Behind the complications. Once you know, even if it's complex, even if it is complicated, once you know the pattern, you know the process, you know your method, it becomes simple. So practice growing into simplicity. And there's nothing more simple than peace. What is peace? The absence of conflict, the absence of resistance. It's the absence that creates peace. But don't be absent, be present. Be present with the life you're living so that you can celebrate it with joy. These are lessons that I hope it's coming through. I really do. I'm going to wrap it up because today, well, the other part of this is how narratives divide us. Don't let the narratives divide you from your joy, from your peace, from your honesty. Be true. Brothers and sisters, this is our lifetime to live, and I appreciate you sharing your time and your day with me. I'm going to wrap it up here sincerely. Till next time, choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. God bless us all. God is love. Peace.